Hey friends, before we dive into tonight's story, did you know that nearly 80% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying this kind of content, consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps a lot, and it keeps these long stories going. Also, I'd love to hear from you. What time is it right now where you are, and which city are you listening from tonight? And if these stories help you sleep, feel free to tap the thanks button to support the channel. It truly means a lot. All right, let's get into it. I'm Marcus Hale, and this is my first confession of countless I'll never file. It's 11:03 p.m. on a Wednesday, the exact moment I badge in at Station 22. The lock clicks behind me, and I stand in the lobby beneath flickering fluorescents so dim you'd swear they're about to burn out for good. There's a plastic stand by the door, the one nobody ever reads, listing patrol zones in faded marker. Zone 3 tonight, they say. Dead-end farm roads, shuttered strip malls, an old diner that never really closed but never served much either. I fill my thermos at the coffee maker in the bullpen, bitter black from Claire's diner grounds, and take my seat at the only desk with dispatch next to me. Officer Randall's already dozing in the cruiser outside, and I swear I can hear the faint hum of his rig's interior light blinking on and off, like a heartbeat I'm not supposed to notice. By 11:15 p.m., the first check-in comes, hail to dispatch, Zone 3 clear. My voice echoes in the empty bullpen, and I wait for Katrina's crackling reply. It always comes, copy, hail, standing by. But tonight, nothing, just static. I repeat, dispatch, come in. Static again, so I let it go. Katrina's shift starts at midnight. She's probably on a smoke break. At 11:32 p.m., the call I've been dreading. All units, suspicious person at the Oasis gas station. I roll my eyes. It's never a real break-in or armed robbery. It's the guy who loiters by Pump 3 every week, the one with the stolen work uniform. But I grab my coat, let my radio squawk to life, and step into the chill night. Outside, the station's neon buzzes. Oasis in half-dead red letters. Only one pump lit, two others dark. The blacktop is slick with what looks like oil and rain, though the forecast was clear. I tap my M16 key fob. The doors unlock with a reluctant click. I slip inside, flashlight low. The cooler hums too loud. The fluorescent tubes above flicker like they're trying to speak in Morse code. No clerk, no loiterer, no one. I check the surveillance camera feed on the monitor behind the counter. Frozen frame. Pump 3 shows someone kneeling, hands pressed on the ground, face hidden in shadows. But on the live feed, the frame never changes. I radio it in. Dispatch, feed's locked up. Could be vandalism. No answer. That's two missing responses. I step outside to reboot the DVR. When I get back, the feed is black. I squash my cigarette butt under my boot, but the smoke still trails up into the wind. I circle Pump 3, nothing there. Then I see it. An imprint in the asphalt, like someone knelt there long enough to leave a mark. Clay-colored outline of knees and hands. Or maybe it's just dried dirt. Either way, I stare until my arms go numb, feel that old twist in my gut, like I'm missing something obvious. By midnight, I'm back at Station 22. Randall's jacket is gone from the coat rack, though his cruiser is still parked out front. The dispatch board lights up, a new call, disturbance at Maple Street. That's the kid's house. We've been there 3 times in 2 weeks. Dog in the walls, footsteps in the attic, doors locked from the inside. Always nighttime noises. Always nothing. At 12:15 a.m., I pull up on Maple Street. The street lamp overhead hums like a nerve ending going haywire. 10-year-old Hannah stands on the porch in her pajamas, clutching her blanket, eyes wide. "They're back," she whispers. She means the footsteps. I follow her inside. Living room neat, winter coats hung, shoes lined up. I cross to the closet at her bedroom door. The doorknob rattles slowly, like there's something pressing from the other side. Soft knocks, too deliberate to be the house settling. I press my ear to the door, nothing but my own heartbeat. In the dim glow of my flashlight, I twist the knob. It clicks open, and the air inside is colder than the hallway, like someone left the freezer door open. I shine my light in, a tiny circle of darkness beyond the glow. I step forward. On the back wall, in crayon, is scrawled, "Can't see me." Hannah pulls me back with both hands. "Please don't," she pleads. I close it gently. I tell her I'll stay until morning. She hugs me, small and trembly. At 1:02 a.m., I'm back at my desk, logging the call. I type, "Nothing found," and move on, like I always do. But my cursor hovers over the phrase, "closet disturbance." I delete "nothing," "found," and write instead, "subjective report, no evidence." It seems more truthful, but Dispatch never sees edits. They get the bullet points. I lean back, stifle a yawn. This shift stretches forever, but it also feels too short, like every night flies by in a blur of coffee and half-heard voices. At 2:07 a.m., the gas station call again, now listed as unlocked door, possible break-in. I throw on my jacket, head back out. The station looks identical, neon flickering, pumps silent. But this time, the door's cracked open half an inch. I push it, and hear a faint scuff behind me. I spin, nothing. On the counter, there's a single poached note. "You're late." The letters are uneven, like someone scrawled them blind. My pulse spikes. I grab my radio. "Dispatch, come in." Silence. I close the door, lock it firm, and pocket the note. Then I drive down Oak Hollow Road, where the diner sign reads, "Always open." But the building's dark, no cars in the lot. I wonder why I thought diner and not warehouse. I flick my lights on. 2 broken booths inside. A counter so dusty it looks unused for years. No one anywhere. I call out, "Hello?" My voice seems to crack the silence like an egg. A single handwritten menu lies on the counter. "Today's special, never leave." I shake my head and leave. By 3:15 a.m., I'm back at Station 22 with the report waiting on my desk. I glance at the timestamp, 3:12. I clearly remember I got back at 3:20. I eye the clock on the wall, 3:03, then 3:02, and then it clicks to 2:59. My head throbs. I run my hand over my face. I think, hallucination, too much coffee. I start typing my notes. By 4 a.m., I'm filing a final report. Zone 3 patrols complete. Closet checks normal, station secured. I sign off. I catch my reflection in the dark glass of the front door, haggard, eyes too wide. Then I see behind me, Randall leaning in the doorway, face hidden in shadow. He tilts his head and says, in my own voice, "Stay awake." Then he's gone. It was 4:15 a.m. when the next call came through. Unresponsive person at the old Miller farmstead. My heart sank. The Miller place, decades empty, windows boarded, paint peeled like scabs. Kids dare each other to go, but nobody ever stays. I jammed my coffee thermos into the dash cup, flipped on my headlights, and tore out of the station. The drive down County Road was silent, except for my tires on cracked pavement and the drone of my own radio, still half dead. I heard my name once, buried under static. "Hale, you there?" I answered anyway. "Go ahead." Nothing but hiss. The coordinates led me past the strip mall with its sagging sign, past the sagging sign that used to read Claire's Diner, before someone spray-painted "Go Home" across the windows. then into fields so dark they swallowed the cruiser's headlights. At the farmstead, I parked under the skeletal frame of the porch. The boards had been pried loose, one swinging on rusty hinges. I grabbed my flashlight and pistol, slipped out into the cold. The air was damp, smelled of rot and weeds. I shouted, "Dispatch! It's Hale, I'm here." Of course, no reply. I clicked off the safety and crossed the yard, flash beam bobbing over old tractors, tangled hoses, broken glass. Then I saw her, slumped against the front steps, coat streaked with mud, eyes half closed. Claire Miller's daughter, Beth. She was 18, always belligerent about the farm's ghosts. She'd called 911 herself. "Claire, you okay?" I crouched beside her. She blinked, mouth moving soundlessly for a second, then croaked, "They want me to come inside." Her gaze drifted past me to the open doorway, where darkness pooled like ink. I followed it. Inside, the floorboards creaked under my weight. Each step stretched out an echo I felt in my gut. In the living room, wallpaper hung in strips, revealing skull-like silhouettes in the shadows. My light caught something on the floor, a newspaper clipping, yellowed and brittle. Headline, "Miller Farm. Daughter profoundly missing, 1978. I swallowed. The story said Claire Miller vanished at 17. Her body never found. Beth crouched in the corner, shaking. She picked up the clipping, voice shaking. "My grandma kept this. She said if I ever came back here, I'd end up like her." I scooped her up, ignoring the ache in my ribs. "We're getting out," I told her. But as I turned, something flickered in the hallway, just beyond the living room's fractured light. A pale shape, too tall and too still to be human. I froze, heart slamming. Beth clung to me. I backed toward the door, but the doorway wasn't there, just a wall. My light traced peeling boards, splintered wood, no door. I shoved Beth to her feet. "That way," I hissed, pointing at a hallway that must not have existed 5 seconds ago. We stumbled forward, side by side, feet echoing like 2 knocks in the dark. At the end, a door stood ajar, bright white, pristine, as if freshly painted. I reached for its knob, cold and smooth, the moment I touched. Yet I heard them, voices, faint but urgent, echoing through the walls. "Come home, come home." I yanked the door open. A blast of chilly air slammed us back. It was the basement steps, not an upstairs bedroom. The house groaned around us. I dropped to one knee, ear to the opening. I couldn't make out words, but it wasn't Beth's grandmother or any recording. It was layered, multiple voices whispering at once. I grabbed Beth's hand. "We need to go," I said, voice unsteady. Back in the cruiser, I hit the button for my dash cam. It crackled to life, then immediately shut off. I tried again, same. Then I saw it on the passenger seat, the clipping from 1978, as crisp as the day it was printed. I'd left it in the living room. I stared at it, mind racing. How did it get here? I sped back to Station 22. The clock on the dash read 5:27 a.m., only 8 minutes since I'd left. Impossible. I slammed on the brakes in the lot and dashed inside, dragging Beth behind me. The lobby was empty. Randall nowhere, desk clear, coat rack bare. My radio sputtered to life. "All units secure." Katrina's voice, calm and detached. I pressed the talk button. "Dispatch, I need backup at Miller Farm." Her reply, "No units available." Then the board lit. "Shift over at 6. My shift, 6 o'clock, 30 minutes away. I paced the bullpen, hands shaking. Beth sat in the corner, silent except for tears. I stared at the clock. 5:41 a.m., then 5:40, then 5:39, counting backward. My head throbbed. I forced myself behind the desk and began my report. Miller Farm call. Subject located, disoriented, exposed to hypothermic conditions. No signs of foul play. I hesitated. That wasn't the truth, but I knew every report I filed would be skimmed, summarized, buried. I scribbled EMT cleared subject and signed off. I told Beth she'd be safe with patrol when Katrina arrived. She shook her head. "I know you heard them," she said. "They called my name." I knelt, looked in her eyes. "We're done here," I lied. At 5:57 a.m., I escorted her to the cruiser. She clutched the clipping in her coat pocket. I thought, she's taken that home, and I'll have to come back sooner or later. I didn't want to admit it, but I think that's why the house kept changing on me, forcing me to see what wasn't supposed to exist. The sun's first rays broke the horizon as I drove off. I watched the farmstead shrink in the rearview mirror. It looked empty now, just a rotting shell in the morning light. But I knew it wasn't, not really. And I knew I'd be back, to confront whatever was in its walls, to see if the voices would call me by name. Because that night, I learned that the dead don't always stay buried. They linger in the boards and papers and whispers. They slip into your reports, your dashcam footage, your memories. And no matter how many times you lock the door, lock the window, lock away the truth, they still find a way inside. As dawn edged its pale light over Maple Ridge, I found myself driving in circles through Zone 3, desperately trying to piece together what I'd just endured at the Miller farmstead. My cruiser's odometer clicked away miles, but I never left the station lot. Time was slipping through my fingers like smoke. The dashboard clock still spun backward. 6:12, 6:11, 6:10, until finally it settled on 6:00, exactly as Katrina's shift took over. I killed the engine and sat for a full minute in silence, so thick I could hear the hum of the coffee maker from inside the station. My head throbbed, my stomach churned. I'd filed my report, but the truth clung to me like blood to fabric. Claire Miller's daughter had found a newspaper clipping from 1978 on the living room floor. Then it appeared in my cruiser, as if that cracked house had spat it into my hands. I clutched the steering wheel, knuckles white, and realized I had two choices: admit I'd lost it or keep playing the part. I chose the latter. I stepped out, locked the door, and crossed the lot toward the lobby. Inside, Katrina was already at the desk, fresh coffee in her hand, uniform crisp. She glanced at me, eyebrows raised. "Long night?" she asked, voice bright as a bell. "Same old," I managed. "Coffee?" She handed me a mug. I took a slow sip, burned my tongue, but worth it. I slid onto the desk chair. "What's on deck?" I asked. She handed me my cleared log report. My own handwriting, neat and clinical. I flipped through. Gas station checks, closet disturbances, farmstead retrieval, all signed off. I felt a hollow ache in my chest. "Nothing outstanding," she said. "Town's quiet." I nodded. "Did you hear from Randall?" She shook her head. "He didn't punch in for days. We tried his home number. No answer. His rig's still parked outside. Dispatch marked him AWOL. A cold knot formed in my gut. Randall, my partner, the one who'd whispered stay awake in the doorway, had vanished. The same way Beth's grandmother had vanished in 1978, the headlines read. I swallowed. We stood in silence. Dawn light filtered through the blinds, casting pale stripes across the floor. I finished my coffee, set the mug down. "I need to review some files," I said. "District archives, old missing persons cases around here." Katrina raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "You look like hell." I gave her a half smile. "Just routine follow-up." She nodded and turned back to dispatch. I walked past my empty desk to the records room, where row upon row of dusty binders sat. Each one held someone's story: routine traffic stops, petty thefts, occasional violent crimes. I slid one binder from the shelf: 1978 missing person, Claire Miller. The file was thin: a police report, a few newspaper clippings, and a note scrawled in the margin: no leads, case cold. Beneath it, another file, a sergeant's note dated 1983. Beth Miller, report of hearing Grandma's voice in the walls. Decline to investigate further. My finger traced the margins. Nothing about altars or voices calling names. The department had buried it fast. Too weird, too embarrassing. I closed the binder and moved to the next. 1976, missing teenage boy near Bramblewood Road. Notes: subject vanished into cornfield at midnight. Witnesses heard sobbing, then silence. No body ever found. More margin notes. Cornfields checked, nothing. Case closed. My flashlight beam caught something taped inside. A small scrap of paper, more recent. I find him feeding them. I frowned. Who wrote this? Then I noticed the handwriting matched the torn page in my own notebook, the page I'd sworn I'd left at home. In that moment I understood. These cases were connected. The gas station imprint, the closet scrawl, the farmstead voices. They were all signs, breadcrumbs leading to something older, something never solved. My mouth went dry. I flipped through every binder: child disappearances, elderly vanishing, teens lost in the woods. Each file had a tiny margin note. Handwritten, always unsigned. Always a hint of horror. She watched you? He waits? They whisper your name. I slammed the binder shut. My hands trembled. A distant echo bounced through the file room, like a door creaking. I spun around, light piercing rows of folders, but no one was there. The echo came again, softer, like someone breathing. Hello? My voice sounded small. The only answer was the hum of the building. Empty closets, flickering bulbs. I knew I shouldn't have come back. The station wasn't safe. The cases were never closed. They were waiting, pulsing in the dark. I gathered the binders, shoved them under my arm. I had to see this through. I had to follow the breadcrumbs, find the pattern before it found me. I climbed the stairs back to the lobby. Katrina glanced up, concern in her eyes. I said, "I'm heading out. Town Hall Archives next." She opened her mouth, then closed it. She knew better than to argue. I grabbed my coat, left the binders on a chair. On my way out, I paused at the bulletins on the wall, missing posters for Randall Hale, Beth Miller, Claire Miller, and myriad others. Faces faded by time, but all sharing the same blank eyes. My reflection caught in the glass. Hollow, obsessed, marked for whatever whispered in the walls. I walked to my cruiser. As I reached for the door, I heard it again. Faint voices, layered, urgent, on the wind. I stepped back, but the lot was empty. Just the faint echo of dozens of voices calling my name. I slid into the driver's seat, breath ragged. I closed my eyes, gripped the wheel. "All right," I whispered, "let's finish this." And I pulled away toward Town Hall, toward the archives, toward the truth no one else wanted to face. By mid-morning, the archive room at Town Hall was as silent as a grave. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, dust motes drifting like tiny specters in the beams. I set down the binders from Station 22 on a long wooden table and stared at the rows of filing cabinets lining the walls. These folders held decades of township records: birth certificates, property deeds, zoning permits. Somewhere in here lay the original reports, the unexpurgated files on every disappearance that haunted Zone 3. I drew a deep breath, steeling myself. The first drawer I opened creaked in protest. Inside were fire permits for 1965, yellowed and brittle. I flipped past until I found the police reports section, neatly labeled in faded type. My fingers traced the tabs: 1976, 1977, 1978, and so on. I pulled out 1978, then rifled through until I found Miller Farmstead, Claire Miller disappearance. The report was longer than at Station 22. 3 pages typed, complete with sketches of the house layout and witness statements. At the bottom, scrawled in the margin in pencil, "Witness saw something? Don't ask." Next, I grabbed 1976. Johnny Harrow vanished in cornfield. I read the original dispatch logs. Caller: hears crying in field. Vehicle left where subject last seen. No physical evidence. Then I found a second torn sheet marked internal. Names redacted. A simple note. Subject reappeared in field 3 days later. Delusional. Claimed they kept me, treated and released. No follow-up. My stomach churned. They kept me. The same phrasing that Beth whispered. The echo of voices calling her name. I flipped to 1977. Elderly man Henry Caldwell went missing from Farm Road at midnight. Found next morning, covered in scratches, barefoot. He refused interview. Margin note. Not for public file. My head spun. These weren't isolated incidents. They were a pattern. Someone, or something, was stalking Zone 3, luring people into darkness, then returning them changed. Or not returning them at all. I gathered photocopies of each report, careful to preserve the margin notes. As I worked, the clerk on duty, a pale, thin man named Ross, kept glancing at me. When I looked up, he'd quickly turn away, as if caught reading something he shouldn't. At noon, I left the archive room with a stack of photocopies. Each one felt heavier than the last. I passed by the council chamber doors. Inside, chairs were empty, and the podium stood vacant. Somewhere in that chamber, town secrets had been kept. Secrets I was about to expose. Back at Station 22, I laid the reports out across my desk, building a mosaic of horror. The gas station imprint, the closet scrawl, the farmstead voices, now connected by missing persons, returned persons, and those never recovered. Randall's disappearance fit the timeline. 25 years ago, April 3rd, Officer James Randy Hale went missing from the station after a late shift. Officially, he was AWOL, but whispers said he never left, just vanished into thin air. The same hollow doorway at the farm had no door, the same backward clock. I stared at his personnel file. Photo from decades earlier, young and eager. A note at the end. Status: open. Open, as in never closed. I closed my eyes, remembered his final words. Stay awake. I heard a rap at the door. Katrina slipped in, eyes wary. You okay? She asked. I pointed to the mosaic, photocopies pinned up, red string connecting dates and locations. She stiffened. Marcus, you've been at this for hours. I exhaled. They never left. They never let go. I tapped the reports. We need to find where it starts. She swallowed. What are you thinking? I slid her one copy, the Caldwell case. He woke up in the woods. Screamed that they spoke through his radio. She raised an eyebrow. Marcus, you're pushing conspiracy. I closed my eyes. Then call it what you want. People vanish, come back broken, or vanish forever. All in this zone at night, all tied to that station, those farm roads, those closets. My voice dropped, and now I'm next. She stepped closer. You need sleep. I shook my head. Sleep is where they get you, in dreams, in reports, in the dark between calls. If I close my eyes, I'll see them. Faces without features, voices calling my name. Katrina placed a hand on my shoulder. "Let me help. We'll run these down together." I looked at her, at the brave, doubtful woman willing to step into the darkness with me. I nodded. Together. She peeled off the top copy, Caldwell's, and held it up. "Where first?" I tapped the address. Farm Road by Oak Hollow, the same road the Miller farm sits on. "We go back there tonight, before the station locks down." She hesitated, then squared her shoulders. "Okay, tonight." We drew up our plan. We'd roll out at 2300 hours. 2 officers, archive photocopies, dash cam rolling. No jotted margins, only evidence we could produce. We'd confront whatever lurked in that house, in that closet, in that farmstead. We'd record it, document it, survive it. At 5:45 p.m. I left the station just before sunset, but I didn't go home. I parked behind the strip mall in my cruiser and watched the sun dip behind shuttered stores. I laid out our battalion of reports on the passenger seat, taped them to the dash. I tested the camera. The red REC light blinked. Good. The last rays of sun vanished. Streetlights flickered on. Claire's diner sign glowed. I thumbed the thermos lid. Claire's grounds, bitter, dependable, would keep me awake until midnight. I turned on the ignition. The dash clock blinked, 2300 hours exactly. One by one, the office lights at Station 22 went dark. Katrina texted, "In position." I exhaled. The night was mine again. 8 hours in, I felt more alive than just surviving a shift. Now, I was hunting answers. My name is Marcus Hale, and tonight we're going back for the truth. I meet Katrina at the station at exactly 11 p.m. She slides into the passenger seat of my cruiser, her face set in determination but with shadows under her eyes. I hand her a stack of photocopies, Caldwell, Harrow, Miller, and we zip them under the dash cam's view. The red REC indicator is steady. She double-checks her flashlight. I chamber a fresh magazine. No one else knows where we're headed. Our destination, the Miller farmstead. At 11:12 p.m., we're rolling down Oak Hollow Road, past the shuttered strip mall, past the spray-painted diner. The radio crackles. "Hale, Hale, come in." Dispatch, finally. I answer, but nothing comes through. Just static, then silence. I glance at Katrina. She shrugs. The farm appears on the right. A skeletal porch where boards hang at odd angles. Windows dark. We park under the old oak tree, its limbs dragging low as if reaching into the cruiser. I kill the engine. The dash clock blinks backwards. 11:11, 11:10, until it stutters to 2300 again. I rub my forehead. Time already feels wrong. We exit silently. I lead us across the yard, our flashlights cutting swaths of clarity through thick darkness. The front door stands ajar, like an invitation or a warning. Katrina checks her radio, battery full. She nods. We slip inside. The living room is the same cracked tableau. Wallpaper peeled into shapes that look like screaming faces. Tools scattered on a collapsed love seat. I sweep my beam over the floor. No sign of Beth or the clipping. Then I spot it in the corner. A low trap door, half hidden by an upturned chair. I crouch. The hinges are rusted but smooth. I glance at Katrina. She frowns. "You sure?" I nod. I push. The door swings open to pitch black. You can't see the bottom of the cellar, just a hint of ladder rungs descending. A sputter of static comes from my radio. Then someone says, faint, "Hale? Is that you?" My heart stops. I whip around. The living room is empty. No one else here but us. I crouch and whisper, "Did you hear that?" Katrina grips my arm. Probably feedback. but her voice trembles. I shine my light down the hatch. It hits splintered boards, crates stacked irregularly. I descend first, flashlight steady. Each rung creaks. At the bottom, the air is damp, scented like old earth and rot. I scan the floor, dirt tracks, footprints in the dust, small imprints like last night's knee outline, but deeper. They trail to a low table at the far wall. Katrina joins me. She shines her light on the table, a scattering of objects, an old police badge, number worn off, a child's shoe half buried in dirt, and a journal bound in cracked leather. My breath catches. The leather looks familiar, like the journal I found on Claire Moss's table, but this one is thicker, older, and the edges are blood-stained. I pick it up, wipe my glove across the cover. The pages are brittle, words scrawled in ink so faded they're nearly invisible. I press the flashlight over a line. They come for the ones who listen. They will never stop. The next page shows a crude map of the basement with a new corridor marked, one not in the house above. It winds behind a false wall in the northwest corner. My pulse pounds. A secret passage, I whisper. Katrina swallows. You think it's still there? I nod. We find it. We find their nest. I set the journal aside. I'll follow the map. You watch the hatch. I backtrack along the corridor in the journal, flashlight beam dancing over stone walls slick with moisture. My boots slip in shallow puddles. Then I find it. A seam in the foundation, a narrow gap between stones. I press on a loose brick. It shifts with a groan. Behind it, space just wide enough for a flashlight beam. I signal Katrina. She steps forward, torch in hand. Together, we push the brick completely free. Inside is a crawl space. Cold, low, dust swirling at our feet. A foul stench rises. I duck in, she follows. We crawl forward, scraping knees on jagged stone. My radio slips from my pocket, clatters behind me. I nearly freeze, then keep moving. After 20 feet, the crawl opens into a small chamber. Light from above flickers. Thin shafts where the floor above has holes. In the center is a rough altar, stones stacked, candles half melted, and around it dozens of small items. Police patches, tarnished cufflinks, children's toys. Each has a name scratched on it. Harrow, Caldwell, Miller, even Hale. I swallow, my name, among their shrines. They've been collecting us, harvesting us, whatever they are. I shine my beam over the names. I notice a new one, fresh, Randall. Next to it, a date, tonight's date. My blood runs cold, so Randall wasn't alive at the station. He was here, taken. I swallow, lean forward. There, an opening beneath the altar. A narrow stair leads down into deeper darkness. I turn to Katrina. Her eyes are wide. We need to call this in, she whispers. I shake my head. No network down here. We're on our own. I check my radio, static. I look back at the steps, flashlight beam trembling. We keep going. We find Randall. We end this. She exhales, nods. Together. We descend, leaving the crawl space behind. Each step is slower, heavier. The air grows colder, the stench stronger. And beneath the distant drip of water I hear them. Voices, layered, calling my name, her name, names from the altar. A soft chant in the dark. I swallow, grip my flashlight. Whatever waits below isn't human. But tonight, we face it, because if we don't, no one ever will. My breath puffs in ragged clouds as we descend the narrow stone stair, each step slick with moisture, echoing in the black void below. The air grows heavier, weighted with damp and a metallic tang that crawls up my throat. I flick my flashlight over the walls, revealing glistening moss and faded graffiti. Dates going back decades, names half erased, and a single phrase scrawled repeatedly in trembling letters. They eat light. Katrina's footfalls come close behind me, each creak of her boots a drumbeat in the silence. I swallow past the lump in my throat and press onward. The stairs end at a landing so low I have to stoop. My back screams protest. Before me, a broad corridor stretches into darkness, walls lined with niches carved into stone. Each niche holds an object. One has a cracked sheriff's badge, another a child's ragged stuffed rabbit, another still a fragment of a news clipping. Every relic stained by time. I step forward, mind racing. The crawlspace altar was a collection. This place is a shrine. A hidden catacomb beneath the Miller Farms farmhouse, carved by hands long gone. I raise my flashlight, illuminating a niche with Randall's cruiser badge, the number still legible. 2218. Below it, a photograph slipped into the stone, a snapshot of him and me on our first shift together, grinning like rookies. Someone preserved it here. My jaw clenches. I'm too close now to turn back. I force my pace, each step crunching broken stone. We reach the corridor's end. A heavy wooden door, swollen with moisture, bound in iron bands. My gloved hand trembles as I push it open. It groans, protesting decades of stillness. Inside is a cavern, vaulted ceiling lost in shadow, the floor littered with music boxes, watches, and fragments of uniforms. At the far side, a figure slumps in a metal chair under a single swinging bulb. My heart clenches. Randall. His head hangs forward, arms bound, throat bruised but breathing shallowly. His eyes open as we approach, dark, ancient pools in a battered face. Marcus? His voice is a rasp, disbelief and relief mixed. He tries to speak again, but his words hiss out as a bloody whisper. I drop to my knees. Hang on, Randy. We're getting you out. Katrina moves to cut his ropes, hands steady despite what we've seen. Suddenly, a chorus rises from the corners of the room, a low, droning hum that seeps into my bones. Dozens of figures step out of the darkness, pale, gaunt shapes with hollow eyes. They wear fragments of uniforms from different eras, marine fatigues, sheriff's jackets, medical scrubs. Their hands hold lanterns or candles, each flame guttering but never dying. They surround us, stepping softly, faces void of expression. I stand, placing myself between them and Randall. My pistol is useless here, in this ancient tomb. I swallow fear. "Who are you?" I shout, voice echoing. They raise their lanterns in unison, light casting long, leering shadows on the walls. Then they speak, each voice layered in a single breathless chorus. We are the watchers beneath. We feed on doubt, on errors in the night. We gather the lost. Katrina clamps her hand over my arm. I glance down at Randall, the way he looks at these figures, haunted. The watchers inch closer, iron chains rattling faintly against stone. One steps forward, tall as a man but skin like parchment, eyes blank pools. It holds out a lantern toward Randall. His chest heaves. He slaps at his bindings. "No!" I bark. I grab Randall's arm. "Get up, we're leaving." He tries to shift, but his legs buckle. The watcher presses the lantern closer, its flame flickering. Shadows twist across the ceiling. My mind races. There has to be a way to break their hold. I glance at the door behind me. Light from our torches barely reaches it. They outnumber us. There's no fight here. A sudden clatter from the ceiling. The single bulb swings violently. The watchers stop, tilting their heads as if listening. Then, as if on cue, they lift their lanterns high and turn to the opposite wall. I follow their gaze. Behind us, carved into the stone, is a relief. A sequence of symbols identical to those in Grammy Moss's hidden journal. the strange script found at the farmhouse basement. It depicts a spiral staircase descending to a black void, people kneeling, then arrows pointing outward. The watchers lower their lanterns and step back. One inclines its head toward the relief, then toward us, as if offering a choice: stay or follow. My pulse thunders. This is the same script that promised safety to the lost souls, but at a cost. The watchers feed on our fear and our silence. I crouch beside Randall. "Can you walk?" He nods, expression strained. I haul him to his feet. Katrina kneels, cutting the final rope. As we turn, the watchers shift, making a corridor for us to leave. Their procession is almost reverent, a funeral march. My blood runs cold. They're shepherding us out after feasting on so many souls. We hurry down the corridor as the watchers close ranks behind us, their lanterns bobbing softly. The chant returns, but quieter now. The watchers beneath, the lost set free. My chest tightens with guilt. There's no escape from this place unless we seal it, and I don't know how. We emerge into the crawlspace crawl, climb back through the hidden passage, hearts pounding. Jagged stones tear our clothes and skin, but we don't stop. At the hatch, I heave it closed behind us. My chest aches, lungs burning. Behind the boards, I hear the watchers chant muffled, "The watchers beneath, the lost set free." I back away, shove the chair to block it, and we scramble up the ladder. Breath rattles in my ears. I pull myself out, followed by Katrina, then Randall. Upstairs, the living room is quiet. The bookshelf I used earlier stands where I left it. The trapdoor is gone. Only the worn rug covers the spot. The house is still. Outside, the moon's pale glow washes over the yard. I wrench the front door, and it swings open easily. We spill onto the porch, air crisp and scented with pine. Randall stumbles but is caught by Katrina. I look back at the house. Shadows shifting in the windows, as if watching. No sign of broken boards or hidden passages. It's just a farmhouse again. I help Randall into the cruiser. Katrina slides in beside me. I start the engine. The dash light is steady at 23:47, time moving forward again. I glance at Randall, sweat beading on his forehead. He flexes his wrists, blood oozing. "Thank you," he whispers, voice hoarse. "They let me go." I swallow. We need to seal this place. Call someone. Structural engineer, demolition crew, anyone. Katrina pulls out her phone. No signal. She swipes, nothing. I frown. Even out here, phones should work. I glance at the farmhouse. Windows dark now, silent. I grip the wheel. We'll deal with it in daylight. I pull away, headlights cutting a path down Oak Hollow Road. We ride in tense silence, the only sound the cruiser's hum and our labored breathing. As we cross under the diner sign, now reading Oasis Diner, I glance in the rearview mirror. The farmstead sits in our taillights. Ordinary, too ordinary, but I know what waits beneath. Randall sits up straighter, gazing back at the empty fields. Katrina stares ahead, jaw clenched. I realize then, we survived, but the watchers remain. They're already cataloging our names, as they did Randall's. Soon, they'll hunger again. Another night, another patrol, and one day, if we sleep, they'll come for us in our dreams. I flip on my radio. "Dispatch, this is Hale. I need a unit at the Miller farm. Emergency extraction required." The radio crackles once, then Katrina's voice. "Marcus, that's..." Static. I hit it again. Nothing. I close my eyes for a heartbeat, then I open them, resolve steel in my chest. "Stay awake," I whisper. The final echo of Randall's last words. "Stay awake." The sun was just beginning to yawn on the horizon when I finally rolled back into Station 22's lot. The sky was a pale bruise of early dawn, pink bleeding into gray. I killed the engine, turned off the dash cam, but the red wreck light seemed to linger in my vision. I helped Randall down from the cruiser, arm over his shoulders, his breathing uneven. Katrina shut off the engine behind me, her face drawn tight. Inside the station, the front door slammed behind us like a tomb sealing shut. Everything smelled of stale coffee and burnt-out bulbs. I propped Randall against the wall by the lobby counter and ran a fingertip along the name tag hanging on his shirt. Faded letters. R. Hale. I felt something break inside me, a stubborn piece of hope snapping. Katrina and I led him into the bullpen, where the coffee maker gurgled and dripped. She set him in the desk chair I'd abandoned hours ago, then padded to the coffee maker. I paced the floor tiles. Everyone familiar, everyone a silent witness to the nights I'd spent here. I glanced at the wall clock. 5:18 a.m. Shift change was minutes away. Randall sat there, head bowed, trembling, his dark hair matted with sweat and dust. He hadn't spoken since we escaped the farmhouse. Blood crusted on his shirt where the ropes had cut. I knelt to inspect the bruises on his wrists, but he jerked away. "Don't touch me," he rasped. His eyes darted to the doorway, as if expecting watchers to step through the walls. I swallowed, stood, and turned to Katrina. "We need medical," I said. "He's going into shock." She nodded. Her fingers hovered over her phone. No bars. Battalion medics should be on call, but the station wasn't wired to alert them directly. I punched the hotline code on the station's desk phone. Nothing. Deadline. I slapped the receiver. "Damn it!" I turned to Katrina. "They cut our connections." My voice was too loud. The walls seemed to absorb it. Randall flinched. A low hum rose behind us. My head whipped around. The bullpen lights flickered, once, twice, and then died altogether, plunging us into half-darkness. Only the emergency exit sign glowed, pale and steady. We exchanged a look of dread. Katrina, flashlight. She raised hers. I flicked mine on. Shadows stretched across the floor. Randall's breath quickened. The humming grew louder, like a swarm of insects trapped in a jar. I backed toward the door, ready to guide him out. But the exit door at the end of the hallway slammed shut with finality. The latch clicked, echoing like a gunshot. The humming peaked, then receded, leaving a ringing in my ears. I pressed against the door, locked. I rapped on the metal. No answer. The humming began again, but this time I realized it wasn't coming from the walls. It was coming from Randall. He sat there, head down, muttering under his breath. "They're here. They're always here." He lifted his head, eyes wild. His voice rose into that chorus we'd heard in the catacombs, layered as if dozens of Randall voices were screaming at once. "Hale! Hale! Hale!" The echoes of his name bounced off the lockers and desks. His skin rippled, as if hundreds of whispers crawled beneath it. I grabbed his shoulders. "Randall, stand down! It's me, Marcus." My hands shook. He stared at me, mouth moving, lips forming words I couldn't hear. He reached out and touched my badge, where my name hung on my uniform. His finger lingered for too long, then he yanked his hand back as if burned. The humming died. The light snapped on, fluorescent and unforgiving. The emergency sign dimmed. We blinked. The bullpen was just as it always was. Desks, chairs, radio perched silent. No watchers, no looming shadows, just the usual clutter of papers and coffee mugs. Randall was gone. My blood turned to ice. I spun, fanning the room with my light. No door ajar, no hidden alcove, just a locked exit and the hallway beyond. Katrina's flashlight beam swept over the walls, over the metal lockers and bulletin boards. Empty. dead silent. I dropped to my knees where Randall had been. The floor was scuffed, but no footprints led away. I pressed my ear against the tiles, nothing but my heartbeat. I slammed my fist against the floor in frustration and grief. He can't just vanish again. Katrina crouched beside me, voice low. "Marcus, what do we do?" I stared at her, mouth dry. Then I noticed it. On the desk where I'd set the photocopies, one sheet had shifted, curled at the corner, though I'd taped them down. I reached to straighten it and stopped cold. Written in fresh ink across the margin was a new note. Tiny script. "You're next." My breath caught. I whipped my flashlight across the room, but no one was there. The lights hummed. The radio squawked to life, rasping, "Station 22. Station 22. Emergency. Station lockdown. Curtain down." Then it cut off. All that remained was the droning hum of the fluorescents. I pressed my palm to the desk, fingertips grazing the words. I couldn't read more. My hands shook too badly. I looked up at Katrina, eyes blazing with fear and resolve. "They took Randall," I said. My voice cracked. "They took him back down. He's one of them now, another watcher or another offering, and they left the message for me." She stood, pulling me up. "We need to lock this place down," she said. "Barricade, call for help, anything." I nodded, but in my gut I knew help would never come. The watchers had severed our lines. Phone, radio, even time, it seemed. We were cut off. I moved to the door, tested it again, still locked. We backed into the lobby. The front and side doors were both bolted. I heard my own breathing echo off the walls. Nothing but silence beyond. Katrina tapped her flashlight against the desk. "What now?" she whispered. I closed my eyes, thought of every missing person, every shuttered barn, every cold, empty closet I'd checked. I thought of the farmhouse and its hidden passages, the catacombs beneath, the pale watchers edging closer in their procession. And I thought of Randall's last words. "Stay awake." I opened my eyes. "We survive until daylight," I said. "We don't sleep. We don't let them catch us dreaming." She swallowed. "Okay." We gathered flashlights, staged ourselves back to back in the bullpen, eyes scanning every shadow. The morning shift would find us here, if either of us survived until then. I clenched my fists, felt the weight of the badge on my chest. I swore, silently, I would find Randall again. I would end this, or I would join him, because there was no going back now. Night shifted toward dawn, but in that bunker of flickering lights, time meant nothing. The watchers would come, calling my name, and all I could do was keep my eyes open, hold the line, stay awake, because the final watch was just beginning. Somewhere around 3:17 a.m., I lost track of how long we'd been awake. The bullpen's fluorescence flickered in irregular pulses, as if gasping for life. Outside, the world was silent, waiting for dawn. Katrina and I sat hunched against opposite walls, flashlights in hand, rifles loaded, eyes locked on every shadow. The locked doors loomed behind us like gravestones. My mind drifted back to that carved relief in the catacombs, people kneeling in a spiral, arrows pointing outward, opening, releasing. I'd thought it described their ritual. Now, I wondered if it was a warning. Those who emerge become watchers too, forced to guard the living from the lost. A soft thump echoed in the hall beyond the bullpen door. We froze. My breath hitched. The thump came again, slow, deliberate, like someone testing wood. I exchanged a look with Katrina, her lips white, jaw set. I raised a finger, pointed at the door. She slowly stood, stretching taut as a wire. I shone my beam at the crack beneath the door. Nothing. I whispered, "Open it together on 3." She nodded. 1. My voice cracked. 2. Her grip tightened on her rifle. 3. We flung the door open. The hallway was empty. At the far end, the exit door we'd tested earlier hung slightly ajar, a sliver of moonlight cutting through the black. But as we approached, the door closed itself with a soft click. Behind it, the night beyond. I shone my flashlight down the corridor. Footsteps in the linoleum, a slow shuffle far away, then a whisper. My name, hushed and distant. Hail. My heart thundered. I raised my rifle and stepped forward. Katrina followed, light bobbing ahead. We approached the water cooler at the end of the hallway, where Randall used to fill bottles, where children once tagged "I watched you" in marker. The cooler was overturned, one of its cups rolled under a nearby desk. I crouched, picked up the cup. Inside was a single word scrawled in fine ink. Welcome. The letters curved unnaturally, as if written on a curve. My skin crawled. A soft scrape came from the adjacent office door. I kicked it open. Inside was the dispatch room, empty, consoles dark, but on the floor lay Katrina's phone, screen cracked. I picked it up. No bars, no recent calls. Across the grain of shattered glass, another word etched by a nail. Now. I dropped the phone. The hallway lights flickered and died. Our flashlights flared brighter in response, revealing figures stepping from every doorway, pale watchers lining the hall in ranks. They held out lanterns and knives, eyes empty coals reflecting our beams. I fired a warning shot into the ceiling. The bullet pinged, echoing like a church bell. The watchers paused, heads tilting in unison. Then the first one stepped forward, lantern outstretched. Light spilled over me, then over Katrina, then over the floor. There, at our feet, dozens of names scratched into the tiles. Names of officers, of missing townsfolk, of Randall, of Katrina, and now mine. Hail. I swallowed. The watching watcher bent down, pressed the lantern to the floor. The flame danced over each letter. Then the watcher looked up, its hollow face inches from mine. A whisper that wasn't a whisper. You belong here. I raised my rifle, but my hands shook so badly I nearly dropped it. I glanced at Katrina, her eyes wide but resolute. She aimed her barrel at the watcher's head. The watcher didn't flinch. Its lantern swung in a pendulum arc, casting monstrous shadows. Then the ceiling behind us groaned. I turned. The catacomb stair opened in the floor, boards splitting, dust falling. From the darkness below came dozens of pale faces, hands reaching up, voices cresting in that chorus. Hail, hail, hail. My blood froze. I took a step back. Katrina lunged, firing into the watchers above, mangling iron lanterns and chains, but they only advanced. The figures below climbed toward us, slick and skeletal. I raised my voice. Katrina, run! She hesitated, then bolted toward the main door. The watchers above parted for her. She slipped through. I fired repeatedly, gritting my teeth, but the shot sparked only against the walls. I turned to follow her, but the far exit slammed shut. The catacomb stair snapped back into the floor. I was alone, surrounded by watchers, my partner gone, the way out sealed. A lantern bobbed inches from my face. I inhaled the acrid scent of molten wax and metal. The watcher extended its hand, its finger pointing at my badge. I trembled, reached to tear it off, but the next watcher stepped close, pressing a heavy hand on my shoulder, tipping the lantern so the flame flickered over my eyes. I felt my knees give way. The watchers formed a circle, lanterns raised high, their chorus rising in volume until it drowned out my heartbeat. Then, in that maelstrom of light and shadow, I heard another voice, distant, desperate. Marcus! It was Randall's voice, sharp with terror. I lifted my head. Through the ring of watchers, I saw a silhouette at the bullpen's shattered window. Randall, pale and changed, pressing his face to the glass, one hand raised in a silent plea. I lunged past the watchers, slamming my fist into the window. It shattered outward, sending shards raining into the bullpen. Randall stumbled inside, collapsing at my feet. For a moment we were together, two broken soldiers in a tomb. He whispered through cracked lips, "Use the badge." I stared at his uniform, then at my own. He lifted his hand, pressed the old metal badge to the floor. The watchers recoiled, flickering in the broken glass's glimmer. The circle widened, frustrated cries echoing hollowly. I seized the badge, number half worn, and held it high. Its metal face caught the flashlights, throwing shards of reflected light into the watchers' eyes. They staggered, pale features twisting in anguish. Then, one by one, they dissolved into shadows, their lanterns guttering out, their chorus fading. The final watcher reached out as if to steady itself, then dissolved, leaving only a faint chill. Randall and I slumped, blinking in the sudden stillness. The bullpen was empty, save for us and the shards of glass. The first pale streaks of dawn fell through the broken window. The station doors were ajar. Katrina's footsteps echoed outside. Footsteps of others, units with flashlights and cuffs. Randall and I staggered to our feet. I placed the badge on the floor. It glowed faintly in the dawn light. No margin notes, no hidden passages, just a piece of metal proving I existed. Outside, responders swarmed in. Katrina rushed in, eyes wet. She helped Randall to his feet. We stood there, uniforms torn, blood and dust covering us. I looked at the rubble, at the shards reflecting the rising sun. A sergeant approached, radio crackling. "Thank God you're alive. We lost your signal." I opened my mouth to speak, tried to explain the watchers, the catacombs, Randall's disappearance and return, the hidden stair, the shrine of names, the voices in the walls. But all I could say was, "They're gone now, for a while." He nodded, but I saw doubt in his eyes. He nodded at our torn uniforms. "You both look like hell. Medical's on the way." I stepped outside, breathing the cold morning air. The station looked ordinary again. No shattered window, no blood, just peeling paint, cracked concrete, and the faint hum of fluorescence shutting down. I fingered the badge in my pocket. It was warm, heavy, and real. My name and number stamped into it. Marcus Hale, 2205. I closed my hand around it. Randall joined me outside. He looked at the station, at the morning light. He said, voice low, "They'll come back." I nodded, eyes on the horizon. The sun rose, burning away the shadows, but not the memory of them. The watchers were driven off, but they lingered in the dark corners of our minds, waiting for night. I turned to Randall. "We stay awake," I said, echoing the promise we made in that cell beneath the farmstead. "We watch the watchers now." He managed a weary half-smile. "I'm with you." As we walked toward Katrina and the medics, I glanced back at Station 22. Through the broken window, I thought I saw a flicker of movement, one pale figure standing in the shadows of the bullpen, watching us go. I blinked. It was gone, but I know the watchers never truly leave. And now, armed with the badge and our bond, we'll keep watch for them, because someone has to. The strange truth lingers. The station's logs show no broken window, no shattered glass, no sign of a struggle. The sunlit lobby appears untouched. Yet I have the shards in my boots, Randall's scars, and that badge, proof of everything no report will record. And sometimes, when the streetlights buzz on and the world grows quiet, I swear I hear faint singing from beneath the floorboards. We watch, we wait, we remember your name. I can't explain it. I can't prove it. But I can't forget it either. I'm sitting here in the cruiser, lights off, engine idling, barely breathing. It's 2:47 a.m., September 12th, and I've been on this night shift for 10 hours straight. I think I've made 8 traffic stops, 3 welfare checks, and written up a parking complaint. The quiet drags at your skull until you start hearing things in the dark. Dispatch cracked over the radio 30 minutes ago. Unit 12, 1223, possible break-in. Abandoned strip mall, Route 29 westbound, neighbor reports hearing a child crying. I punch the mic, copy, en route. The static swallowed my voice. No one answered back. The road out here is flanked by cornfields and shuttered storefronts. By day, Milltown Diner still opens for breakfast, and the Exxon station pumps cheap gas. By night, everything shuts down. Nearly every light dead, save for a flickering street lamp half buried in the weeds. I pull in behind a sagging chain-link fence that no one bothered to fix after the demolition crew left. The mall stands like a concrete skeleton. Windows boarded so tightly you can't tell if anyone's inside. I kill the engine, step onto the pavement. My boots crunch on broken glass. The smell of stale Pop-Tarts and diesel hangs in the air. I flick on my mag light. 1 beam, then 2. The first storefront is a pawn shop, skeleton safe behind a sheet of plywood. I sweep past a Pilates studio with the glass door cracked. A single yoga mat rolled out like an invitation. No back door alarm ever sounded. Radio static hums in my earpiece. I tell myself it's probably kids messing around. They got a speaker app and think it's funny, but my gut twists. At this hour, no one's in a good mood for jokes. I round the corner toward the old pharmacy. That's where the crying's supposed to come from. My boots echo on the linoleum, dead leaves swirling at my ankles. I notice footprints in the dust, run-of-the-mill sneaker treads but fresh. I stop, silence. Then a low, distant whimper, just once. "Hey," I call, my voice cracks. "Come on out." Radio crackles. "Unit 12, do you copy?" I answer. "12's here." "Stand by." No word back. I push the glass door, stubborn like it's never been opened in years, and slip inside. The yellow open sign still hangs, bulb long since burned out. Under my light, dusty shelves loom. A toppled clipboard drips a few faded forms, blank lines staring up. I sweep the beam across the tile floor, nothing but footprints and dirt. Then I hear it again behind me, near the medicine aisle. A soft cry like a baby's. My hand hovers over my taser, thumb against the safety. I edge forward. The crying stops. I freeze. Just silence. Nothing. I tell myself it's a speaker app, someone testing me. I call over the radio. "Simmons, if you're out there, hit me back." No response. I move deeper in. Step past a half-open cabinet, rack of empty pill bottles rattling like bones. My beam flicks across a tiny pair of red rubber boots, scuffed and wet. I swallow, stomach sinking. I kneel, pick one boot up by the heel, mud caked on the sole. I spin, expecting someone to leap out, but there's no one. The crying begins again, right behind me, low, muffled, coming from an aisle stacked high with energy drink cases. I inch forward, voice low. "This isn't funny. Who's here?" The beam lands on a plastic crib frame collapsed against the wall. No mattress, no sheets, just twisted metal. The cry stops. I sweep the aisle end to end. Nothing. I step closer to the crib and catch movement at my elbow in the reflection on the glass. No, that's not right. It's a mirror propped against the wall, dusty and cracked. My own reflection stares back. Then, in the corner, a shape. Small, hunched, fading. I whip my head around. Empty aisle, my pulse hammers. I press my back to the shelf and radio in. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. Suspect fled on foot. I'm clearing the building. Static. No answer. I back out of the pharmacy, shovel feet for speed, but keep the light on the entrance. Outside, the air feels colder, as if the building exhaled when I left. Simmons' cruiser is parked by the fence, lights off. I can't see him. Over the radio, half a word. 12. Status? I lay my hand on the pharmacy doorframe, whisper, "You listening? Where did you go?" No reply, human or otherwise. After that, I met Simmons by the alloy wheels, his face pale, even in the dash glow. "Found anything?" he asks. I open and close my mouth. Describe the boots, the crib, the rattle of empty pill bottles. He nods, voice steady. "We'll search the perimeter. Call for backup at 0300. I agree, knowing full well no one's coming until daylight. In the substation, I rewound the body cam. Took me 3 tries to spot it, the fleeting shape over my shoulder as I grabbed the boot. You can hear me gasp, and in the reflection behind me, a little handprint fading on the dusty counter. Not mine. I wrote nothing located. False alarm. The paperwork felt wrong. I can't unhear the crying at every flicker of the fluorescent lights. I can't unsee that quilted vest, hung half off a rack. It was tiny, like a kid's. They shipped me out 2 weeks later. New county, new streets, no strip mall to haunt my memory. But every time I park at an empty gas station, it could be midnight or noon, I half expect to see red boots. And if I stay long enough in the darkness, I swear, I'll hear a baby crying, right behind me, begging to be found. I still don't know who left those boots in the pharmacy. I still don't know who crumpled that crib. And I still don't know why, when I turned back, the doll's face was streaked with something that looked like tears. I stepped back into the night, heart still hammering. The county line sign glows green in my headlights as I head south toward the old service road. Route 29 curves along the creek, fields on either side. My radio crackles. Unit 12, any update? I kill the engine, sit in silence. No answer. I pull forward, spot a pair of red boots on the shoulder, half buried in gravel. They're scuffed and cracked, identical to the ones back at the pharmacy. My breath fogs on the windshield. I hesitate, then step out and pick them up. I flick on my flashlight. No end of stray animals or curious trespassers would leave kids' boots out here. Nothing around. I slip them into the cruiser and drive on. 10 minutes later, I'm at a rundown gas station, the only place still open this late. The attendant, an older guy with a cigarette dangling from his lip, glances up when I pull in. The fluorescent canopy hums overhead. Inside, the aisles are rotated, new kind of chaos. I park and kill the lights, the sapphire glow of the pumps reflecting in my rear view. The attendant steps out. "You lost, officer?" he asks, voice low. I watch him flick ash onto the cracked pavement. "Just checking," I say, voice steady. I pop the trunk, red boots on the edge. He squints. "Never seen those before." He shrugs. "Kids don't hang around here." I close the trunk, climb back in. He nods and goes inside. The bell chimes. I watch him flick on the TV behind the counter, static and a test pattern. The tubes must be dying. I lean back. My mind reels. Boots, crib, doll smeared with tears. All at abandoned places. Something is following me. A car pulls up, no lights. I catch movement in the shade of the pumps. A small figure. I flip on my dome light. No driver. The car is empty. Doors locked. I jump out, circling the vehicle. No footprints in the dirt beside it. But the engine's warm. I touch the hood. Engine just turned off. I radio out. Dispatch, this is 12. Unauthorized vehicle at Lone Star. No answer. I lean in through the window. A baby pacifier on the seat. Pale pink, glossy. I grab it. The surfaces are sticky. I shake it. It rattles. I hide it in my jacket. My chest tightens. Back on Route 29, I try to shake the feeling something's moving just outside my vision. Shadows twist between the rows of corn. My sunglasses are still on the dash. Sun's long gone, but they glare in the beam. At the substation, I clear gear, but I can't sit still. The boots on the desk, the pacifier next to my keys. My partner's locker door creaks open behind me. I turn, empty hallway. The lights flicker. I reach for my baton, holster empty. I pull out the pacifier and stare at it. It has fingerprints, tiny, calloused. I press it on my lips, tasting the adhesive. I swallow, mouth dry. I step into the briefing room. Simmons is sitting at the table, his uniform crisp, coffee cup steaming. He looks at me. Still chasing phantoms? I set the boots and pacifier down. Tell me what you'd think if you found these. He leans forward, eyes dark. A kid's in trouble, or someone wants us to think so. He taps the pacifier. This yours? I nod, voice low. Found it in an empty car at the station. He flicks on the TV. The news anchor is talking about a missing toddler, case 2 counties over. Disappeared 3 nights ago. Same boots described in the report. My spine goes cold. I stand, lights humming. Get me my cruiser. I leave him there, glass on the table, pacifier rolling in its rim. On the road again, I follow the turnpike north, toward the missing child's hometown. Fog rolls in from the creek, low to the ground. The yellow lines blur. My headlights catch a shape ahead, like a stroller frame collapsed. I swerve, skid. The car fishtails onto the shoulder. I kill the engine. The holler of the night presses in. I step out, boots sinking in wet grass. I follow the frame's handle to the edge of the road. Corn stalks part, whisper. I lean forward. The stroller is empty, seat torn, no sign of baby or parent. My flashlight catches a smear on the wheel, a tiny handprint. My radio crackles to life. Unit 12, come in. Simmons' voice. Relief and irritation in the same tone. I snap, don't move. I'm gonna need backup. I climb back in and lock the doors. Sirens in the distance. Red and blue flashes in my rear view. I watch them close, then peel off toward me. Simmons arrives, flashlight beam dancing. He jumps out and spins around. What the hell happened? I point at the stroller, then at the field. He shines his light, catches the corn's rustle. Footsteps retreating into the stalks. Neither of us moves. 2 patrol cars roll up, lights strobing. Officers unload with weapons drawn. They sweep the field. Nothing. No footprints, no broken stalks. Just the rustling and the starlight. At dawn, I drive home. Fog lifting, the world yawning awake. I pass a child's bike on a front lawn. Pink streamers flutter from the handles. My heart skips. I don't stop. Inside my house, the front door is unlocked. My wife left a note. Gone for coffee, back soon. I lift the latch. It wrinkles. My keys, hanging by the hook. I set the boots and pacifier on the kitchen table. She'll wonder. I sit in the dark. The morning sun leaks in, but I can't see it. I think, this is why cops drink, why sleep turns to nightmares. Because you realize there are things you just can't explain. The dawn light filters in weakly through the blinds as I sit motionless at the kitchen table, staring at those red boots and the pacifier. My wife's note. Gone for coffee, back soon. Lies curled beside them in her neat handwriting. The penmanship feels alien in this moment. I trace the loops of each letter and wonder if she knows how dangerous it is that our door was unlocked when I got home. I haven't touched my dinner, half eaten in the living room. My eyes burn from staring at the clock. 6:12 a.m. In 20 minutes, the morning commute will start. Kids waiting for buses, people lining up for lattes. But I can't move. The first knock comes at 6:27. I jump, cold sweat prickling down my spine. I open the door a crack. My neighbor, Mrs. Carraway, holding a steaming cup. "Thought you might need this." She smiles warmly, oblivious. I step aside, let her in. She drifts past the boots and pacifier without comment, places the cup in my hand. "Rough night?" she asks softly. I nod, throat tight. As she leaves, I feel the weight of the uniform I'm no longer wearing. Holster empty, badge tucked away in a drawer. I clutch the mug until it aches, then set it down and head to the bathroom. The mirror reflects a hollow face. Dark circles, unshaven cheek stubble, eyes rimmed red. I turn away, flick on the light, failing fluorescent buzzing overhead, reminding me of that silence in the mall. Back downstairs, I rifle through my desk drawer instead of paperwork, finding my badge, radio mic, and contracts for my transfer. I hold the radio mic in my hand, press the button without speaking, release it. The red boots are at my feet, the pacifier on the table. I drop the mic, watch it spin. I force myself into the cruiser, seatbelt clicks, and drive to Coffee Haven, the corner shop my wife loves. The lot is already half full. I park between a sedan and a Honda, kill the engine, and sit. I close my eyes, run through the last 8 hours. Boots, crib, stroller, empty car, unlocked door, missing child 2 counties over. Nothing adds up. Inside, the barista slides a latte across. I thank her, fingers wrapped around the cup. My reflection in the window, flashing blue and red as a patrol car rolls by, startles me. For a moment, I imagine I'm back on Route 29, weeping child's cry in the wind. I leave a $20 tip and step back into the dawn. Coffee warm in my belly, I head toward the county line sign again, but not south this time, north to the missing toddlers neighborhood. Houses identical in neat rows, white picket fences, flower beds blooming. I knock on doors. First one, blank stare. "Haven't lived here long," they say. Next one, a mother watching cartoons on her porch. I show her the pacifier. Her eyes go wide. My daughter had one just like that before she lost it. I stop her. Is she missing?" She shakes her head. "Number?" She's 7 now, too old for pacifiers. She steps back. "But those boots..." I slip the pacifier into my pocket. "I'm sorry." No one else has seen them. No neighbors have heard crying. No cameras on their street pick up anything strange. Just squirrels and mail trucks. I drive back, defeated. That afternoon, back at the station, the lieutenant wants my report. I tell him the kids home safe and sound, no evidence of break-in. Door was locked when they got home. "Looks like we chased our own shadows," he says, eyes sympathetic. I nod, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know about the strip mall or the pharmacy or the stroller. He files it under unfounded, but I file it under never forget. I hang my uniform back up in the locker room, unused for weeks now, and walk out into the parking lot under the harsh fluorescent bulbs. Empty cars, empty walkways, and there, on the hood of my cruiser, the red boots again. I stare at them. My reflection in the windshield is unsteady, shaking. The world around me is bright and clear, but I feel the darkness pressing in. The boots dangle at my feet as I step out. I lean in, lift them, and tuck them under my arm. I drive home in silence, the afternoon sun warm on my face. At the driveway, I pause, hand on the door handle. I breathe in the smell of fresh-cut grass, distant lawnmowers humming. I slip the boots and pacifier inside before my wife returns. I wonder if at night they'll vanish again, drifting out into the world to taunt the next officer. I slide the boots off the seat and onto the floorboard as dusk bleeds into the sky, pale lavender fading to navy. I don't know how many days it's been since I brought them home, since I last slept. My wife asked once, softly, "Why are those in the living room?" I told her I found them on a run and hadn't decided what to do with them. She nodded and walked away. She thinks it's all stress, just another late-shift cop's baggage. Tonight, the station called me back in. "Routine check," they said, but I know why. The lieutenant wants me to ride with someone, to keep an eye on me. Simmons volunteered. He's waiting by the cruiser when I arrive, hands in his pockets, eyes flicking to the passenger seat where the boots rest. He clears his throat. "You ready?" I shrug. Let's drive. We roll out at 8:15 p.m. The radio crackles with chatter about a door left unlocked at an empty farmhouse on County Road 14. The homeowner called from the diner down the street. No sign of forced entry, nothing stolen, but the door wide open when she got home, from her shift. "My doors are always locked," she insisted. "Even to mow the lawn, I lock up." I glance over at Simmons. "Think it's connected?" He shrugs. "Probably wind." We head west, the cruiser's headlights slicing through the night. Fields roll by, dark shapes against the sky. The radio static hisses, then a report of another unlocked door, this time a cabin on Pine Hollow Trail. No one inside. "File it under nuisance," the dispatcher says. When we get to County Road 14, the farmhouse sits under a full moon. The porch light is on, casting one lone pool of yellow on the steps. I kill the engine. Simmons clicks on his flashlight and steps out. I follow, boots silent on the gravel. The front door is ajar, maybe 6 inches. Paint peels in strips, chipped white over wood. I slip in first. The kitchen is empty, table set for 2 with dusty placemats, nothing disturbed. I sweep my light across the counter. Nothing but a coffee mug on its side, dark rings stained around it. Over in the corner I spotted the same plastic crib frame folded flat against the wall. No mattress, no bedding, just twisted metal bars. My pulse spikes. I step toward it. "Jesus," I whisper. Simmons joins me, eyes narrowing. He touches the frame. This is the third one tonight. I pull out the pacifier from my pocket and hold it aloft. He sighs. These cracks me up. We search the rest of the house. 3 bedrooms, living room, bathroom. Doors shut but unlocked, with that same soft creak. A child's bicycle lies tipped over in the hallway, tiny reflectors catching the beam. No dirt on the tires. No footprints on the dusty linoleum. In the master bedroom, I find the boots again. One atop the dresser, the other under the bed. I kneel, jaw tight, and pick up the dresser boot. I turn, catching a glimpse in the mirror. Behind me, a small white dress hanging on the closet door, though none of the closets are typically used. I spin around, empty bedroom, the dress is gone. "Simmons," I say, voice taut. "Tell me you didn't see that." He shakes his head, pale. I didn't. We exit the farmhouse. I pause on the threshold, inhale the night air, fresh-cut grass, distant cicadas, exhaust fumes from our idling cruiser. I look back. The porch light flickers, buzzing faintly. I step onto the porch, boots echoing on wood. I edge forward, flip the beam across the yard. Nothing but wildflowers wilting under the moon. I call it in. Unit 12, nothing further here, doors secure. The lieutenant responds, "Copy. Great work." Back in the cruiser, Simmons drives us to Pine Hollow Trail. we pass 2 more unlocked homes, cabin doors swinging open in the breeze. By the time we finish our rounds, it's past midnight, and we've cataloged 5 incident reports. Unlocked doors, crib frames, boots, pacifier sightings, but no suspects, no footprints, no witnesses. We return to the station. Simmons parks in the lot and kills the engine. "You okay?" he asks. I stare at the dashboard, boots on the passenger side floor, pacifier on the seat. I nod, then shake my head. "I don't know." He claps me on the shoulder. "Get home, sleep, see how you feel tomorrow." I hand him the keys and climb out. The night air hits me, cool, silent. I watch Simmons drive away, headlights disappearing around the bend. I stand in the lot, heart thudding, then bend down and scoop the boots and pacifier into my arms. Inside the station, I drop them on the lieutenant's desk. He looks up, eyebrows raised. "What's this?" I meet his gaze. "You wanted a routine check." He exhales. "You've got 5 calls in one night, all connected by this." He taps the pacifier. You sure about this?" I nod slowly. "I've seen worse." He runs a hand through his hair. We'll keep an eye, but you should go home." I turn and walk out, boots heavy in my grip. Outside, the night sky stretches vast and empty. I press the boots to my chest and start toward my car. Every unlocked door in the county seems to whisper as I pass, drawn by those boots. I drive home with headlights on low, radio off. My wife's car is gone. She's at night shift again, or maybe just out. I pull into the driveway, boots digging into the gravel. I don't risk bringing them inside. I leave them on the front step, along with the pacifier balanced on the doormat. I lock the door behind me, twice. I check every window. I climb the stairs, floorboards creaking underfoot. In bed, I stare at the dark ceiling, faint glow from the street lamp outside. My thoughts whirl. Crib frames, dress in the mirror, strollers, and those boots. None of it fits. The next night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed, boots and pacifier on the floor beside me, flashlight in hand, waiting for the dark to settle. By 10:03 p.m., I was back in the cruiser, heading out alone this time. Simmons off duty, the lieutenant out of earshot, and no real assignment beyond keep eyes open. I set the radio to scan and drove the back roads toward the old power substation on Willow Creek Road. By midnight, I was parked under a failing sodium lamp that cast one lazy orange halo. The transformer yard lay quiet, chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. I killed the engine, stepped onto the gravel, and the boots scuffed at my toes. I marched up to the gate, set the pacifier on a concrete stump, and reached through the mesh to unlatch the padlock, just enough for the door to swing inward under its own weight. I didn't hear metal scrape on metal, I just knew it was open. Inside, the wind rattled the rusted equipment, and the flashlight beam danced over coils and towers. Radio static hissed in my ear, my own breathing felt loud. I edged around a row of circuit cabinets, past a warning sign smeared with graffiti. No trespassing, danger, though you could barely read the letters anymore. I thought of the crib frames, collapsed like empty skeletons, lined up in abandoned homes all across the county. I thought of the stroller, its wheels stiff from disuse. I thought, too, of the crying, always near a place that should have been locked, vacant, inert. I found the small security shed at the back of the lot. The door was cracked open, hinges creaking. I pushed in. Inside were dusty maps of the grid and a single folding chair, canvas worn, seat torn. My flashlight caught movement on the floor, a scrap of white fabric, stiff with damp. I dropped to my knees, found it was a child's sock, size infinitesimal. I pressed it in my palm, water leaking through my glove, and held it up to the beam. The threads shimmered silver. A sound behind me. Soft, deliberate footsteps on concrete. Instinct snapped me up, gun out, flashlight sweeping. The figure hovered at the threshold, small, hunched, too still to discern gender or age. I called out, voice low, "Hey, step into the light." The shape shifted, dissolving toward the fence line. In that instant I caught sight of its face, pale, gaunt, eyes too large. Then it was gone. I chased it through the yard, heart hammering, but the fence was solid, barbed wire at the top, no obvious breach. At one corner I spotted footprints in the mud, skirting the wire. They led back toward the gate I'd propped open. I radioed in, "Unit 12, possible trespasser footprints heading southwest." No answer. The static swallowed my call. By the time I returned to the cruiser, the pacifier and boots were gone. The concrete stump where I'd left them was empty, and the ground around was smoothed over, as if nothing had ever been there. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and slid into the driver's seat, chest heaving. I kept my doors locked for the drive home, but by the time I reached the cul-de-sac, I felt, somehow, lower, like I'd already fallen through the asphalt and was staring up from under the world. Inside the house, the hallway was empty, silent. No footprints on the carpet, no new objects out of place. My wife's shoes sat by the closet, her coat draped on the hook. But on the living room sofa lay the pacifier, glossy and pink, and on the coffee table, a third red boot scuffed to the sole. Not a pair, just the one. I picked them up, checked for prints. Clean. I put both boots side by side and slid the pacifier between them, forming a triangle in the dim lamplight. I sat in the circle of those three objects, hands on my knees, staring until the early hours. I thought about the little face I'd glimpsed in the power substation shed. I thought about every unlocked door, every empty crib, every phantom stroller and tinny cry. There was a pattern here, punctuated by the footprints, the dropped sock, but the why eluded me. Some kind of vigilante child, a ghostly trickster? A person so lost they'd chosen haunting as a life. When dawn's first pale edge illuminated the windows, I rose and put the boots on the front porch and the pacifier on the stoop, leaving them out as markers or maybe warnings. I locked the door, but I know I left the gate at Willow Creek wide open. Whatever had slipped through that fence was free to wander, to revisit. I awake to the distant rumble of the 4:15 a.m. freight train, steel wheels singing their low, mournful hymn. The bedroom clock reads 3:58, but I've been awake for hours, listening to the house breathe. The boots and pacifier sit on the bedside table like silent witnesses. I stare at them until they blur, then roll out of bed, careful not to wake my wife, and slip on my uniform pants. No shirt, no tie, just the weight of the night shift in my pocket and a flashlight on my belt. By 4:30 a.m., I'm behind the wheel of my cruiser, headlights carving two narrow beams into the pre-dawn gloom. I head east toward Willow Creek Road one more time, compelled by the open gate I left on the transformer yard. It's a 7-mile drive through fields dotted with barns and empty mailboxes, and I catch glimpses of deer crossing the road like phantoms. My radio is silent. No chatter. No voices to break the hush. I arrive at the substation gate and find it still ajar, swaying gently in the chilly breeze. The padlock hangs undone, bolts slack in their housing. My hand lands on the cold metal, thumb pressing the edge, and I feel a tremor in my fingers, anticipation, dread, anger. I push the gate inward so it closes behind me with a muted click, as if the yard itself has exhaled. Inside the yard, the sodium lamp overhead flickers, a lazy, rhythmic pulse that sets my teeth chattering. I click on my flashlight and follow the same path through the corroded machinery, past the concrete stump where I once placed the pacifier. Now it's gone. The stump is bare, worn smooth as if something has knelt there countless times. I crouch and trace the circular discoloration, imagining the pacifier's shape inscribed in moss. I move toward the security shed, every step echoing on gravel. The shed door stands wide open, again. I recognize the uneasy pattern: unlocked gates, open doors, objects placed then vanished. Inside, I find nothing but that torn child's sock I picked up earlier, now pinned under a coil of wire. I pull it free. The damp has turned it gray. I fold it in my palm, reluctance and horror coiling in my gut. Footsteps, soft, deliberate, sound behind me. I whirl, flashlight swinging. Nothing but shadows. My beam catches the entryway and reveals fresh footprints in the thin layer of dust. Small, barefoot prints, toes splayed. They lead from the corner of the shed toward the fence. I follow, heart in my throat, tracing them as they slip under the mesh and vanish on the other side. I slip out into the yard again, scanning the perimeter. Cornstalks rustle at the fence line, but there's no one there. Only the wind. I kneel to inspect the soil beneath the barbed wire. Footprints, deeper than before, pressing a silent message into the earth. I take a photo with my phone, flash bright against the darkness, then rise and pocket the device. I know I should call for backup, file a report, protocol, but I can't bring myself to leave the yard. Something ties me here, a duty, a compulsion, that silent cry echoing in my bones. I trace the fence line clockwise, beam skittering across broken insulators and warning placards. I reach the corner where I once saw the pale face. Gaunt, eyes too large. I shine the light into the field beyond. Nothing. But out among the rows of stalks, I glimpse a white shape. Small, drifting toward the road like a lost balloon. I pursue it, boots thudding on soft ground. The beam glitters on wet leaves. The shape flutters between the stalks, then dissolves into the undergrowth. I crouch, part the cornstalks with trembling hands. The soil beneath is upturned, tiny handprints pressed into mud. I can feel their warmth, as if someone has only just been there. My radio crackles to life. Unit 12, status? I don't answer. I stand in the field, chest heaving, light illuminating only what I pointed at. The dark presses in around me like a living thing, breathing over my shoulder. I finally respond. I'm clearing the scene. Gate will be secured. I climb back through the fence and fasten the padlock this time with deliberate care, turning the key until it clicks shut. Driving away, I glance in the rear view. Yellow light dancing off the gate. Then it's gone behind a bend. I speed back to town, mind racing. On impulse, I pull into a 24-hour diner, neon sign buzzing overhead. Open all night. Inside, the counter stools stand empty. Coffee percolator gurgling. I sit and order black coffee, shakily downing 2 cups. My reflection stares back at me from the plate glass window. Uniform gleaming. Badge dull, eyes haunted. A waitress approaches with a slice of pie on a china plate. I remember nothing about ordering it. She sets it down and offers a polite smile. On the house, hun. You look like you need it. I stare at the slice. It's chocolate. The same kind my daughter used to hate when she was little. My throat tightens. I push it away. Back in the cruiser, I find a slip of paper tucked into my jacket pocket. My handwriting, awkward. Meet me where the transformers hum. No time, no date. My breath catches. I don't remember writing it. The note is damp, edges smudged as if it's been folded in mud. I unfold it fully against the steering wheel, stare until the letters blur. At 6 a.m., I pull into my driveway. The sun rises pale and hesitant, casting long shadows across the lawn. I leave the cruiser running and walk to the front door. The boots and pacifier are missing from the porch. Instead, on the doormat lies a small note, printed on thin white paper. "Thank you for listening." No signature, no footprints. I stand there, the morning chorus of birds humming in my ears, and grasp the note until it crumples in my fist. I can feel the blood pulsing in my temples, the cold sweat down my back. I know the night isn't over. I know it's never over. The field, the shed, the stroller and crib and sock and pacifier, they're all part of some terrible pattern I can't yet see. I slip the note into my coat pocket. I climb the stairs, lock every door, and stand by the window watching the driveway. I see my reflection in the glass, shadows beneath my eyes stretching long across my face. The sun has barely risen, but I'm back out in the cruiser. Coffee long gone cold in the cup holder, radio silent except for the hum of the engine. I've been chasing this thing for days now, retracing every step, every unlocked door, every phantom footprint, and yet I feel like I'm running in circles. My shirt is soaked through with sweat despite the chill, and my hands tremble on the wheel whenever I slow down at a dark driveway or a half-lit porch. There's a report this morning of a broken window at the Spencer farm. No one lives there, but local kids rode their four-wheelers past it and heard a kerplunk, like something heavy falling in the barn. I pull in, headlights sweeping over tall grass and battered machinery. The barn door is ajar, one hinge snapped, swinging like a tired eyelid. My boots crunch on gravel as I approach. The air tastes of damp hay and something else I can't place, like burned popcorn. Inside, moonlight segments the haylofts in silver bars. I step over a coil of rope and spill my flashlight beam on a makeshift crib placed in the corner. Again, that metal frame, rusted and bent. I freeze, breath catching. There's fresh straw scattered on the floor, footprints too small for any teenager. I crouch and follow them. They lead to an empty stall where a red streak stains the wood. Not blood? Paint? No, it's something darker. I lean in and sniff. Iron, metallic, old. A soft rattle draws my gaze to the feed trough. There's the pacifier, again, edges chewed, glaze worn away. I pick it up, flip it in my palm. My mind swirls with how many times I've held this thing now. I hear a faint creak above me. I shine the light up to the loft, silhouettes shifting among the hay bales. Two small figures crouch there, bare chests and wet hair glinting white. They watch me without moving. I swallow and call up softly, "Hey, what are you doing?" No answer. Just the low rasp of breathing. I step back and draw my taser, finger on the trigger. The figures edge closer to the opening, then vanish into the rafters. My taser hums, filling the barn with its electronic hiss. I step toward the stall door to leave, and as I pass the trough, I catch movement in the beam's periphery. A girl's hand, pale, slipping the pacifier back into my pocket. I slump against the wood, heart pounding. I'm too old for ghosts, but I'm shaking like I'm 7 years old again. I radio in. Unit 12 at the Spencer farm. Possible juvenile trespass, negative contact, stand by. The crackle comes back. Copy. Proceed with caution. They don't know how much caution I've already practiced. Back in the cruiser, I try to make sense of it. Fragments of doorways left unlocked. The diner, the cabins, the farmhouse, the mall, the shed, the power yard, and now here. Every place carries an echo. Creaking floorboards, rusted hinges, the doll's tear tracks. That sock, the stroller, the ring of the pacifier. Each object seemed to vanish once I looked away, only to appear somewhere else. I drive back toward town, but sleep finds me at the wheel. I jerk awake at an intersection, startled by a small girl standing on the median, her back to me. She holds something in her hand, bright yellow. I lean out the window. It's a ragged teddy bear with one glass eye. The girl doesn't turn. I flash the spotlight, then slam on the brakes. She's gone. No teddy, no footprints, no sign anything was ever there. Later, at midday, I empty the cruiser and sift through my pockets, the pacifier, the feather from the crib mattress, a shard of the broken window glass, and the teddy bear's glass eye, smudged and cold. My phone buzzes. A text from my wife. "Lunch? I miss you." I thumb a reply. "Can't. I'm busy." I stare at the word busy and feel a hollow swell in my chest. I decide to close the loop. I head to every place on my list, arriving at each to find the objects already gone. No crib frames in the barns or cabins. No boots on the porches. No pacifier at the bus stop or the diner. It's as if they were never placed. My eyes sting with fatigue. I backtrack to the power substation one last time, hoping for a final clue. The gate is locked tight. I don't recall locking it, but someone must have. I test the padlock with my flashlight beam and catch sight of a faint message scratched into the top rail. "I see you." My stomach flips. I run my gloved finger over the letters, etched deep. Sweat beads on my forehead despite the cool night. My radio is off. I don't want to hear another voice. I step inside. My boots echo against the gravel and steel. The transformers hum, a low vibration under my feet. I follow the fence line to the shed, past the stump and the coil of wire. The shed door is closed. I raise my hand, push it gently, and it swings inward without a sound. Inside, there's nothing but darkness until my beam catches reflective eyes in the corner. Two small kids crouch there, sister and brother maybe. Their eyes gleam, unblinking. In their hands, they hold every one of the objects. Crib bars, boots, pacifier, teddy eye. They stand and step toward me. I hold up my hands, words stuck in my throat. They pause at the threshold, half in shadow, half in light. The girl tilts her head, smiles without moving lips. The boy drops the glass eye, and it breaks on the concrete with a sharp crack. I blink, and they're gone. Just empty sleeves hanging from nowhere, clothes slipping through the air. The shed is empty, the padlock is open. The fence, too, splayed as if someone passed through. I walk out into the field beneath the transformers, heart drumming in my ears, and look at my hands. They're stained with soot and something that looks like tears. My radio crackles alive. "Unit 12 status?" I don't answer. I toss the pacifier into the grass, the boots into the gravel, the eye into the soil, let them scatter. I climb over the fence and lock the shed door behind me, key turning once, twice. Then I leave the yard, the night pure and silent. At home, I find a single letter on the kitchen table, typed and unsigned. "Thank you for keeping the doors ajar." I stare at it, ink blurred at the edges. I fold it, place it in my pocket where all the others are laid out like a twisted scrapbook. That night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, listening for those soft footsteps, for the door clicking open. I've lost track of how many nights I've spent chasing a pattern that might be mine to complete, or mine to start. My flashlight sits on the nightstand, battery nearly dead. The crib frame outside my window stands under the moonlight, a silhouette against the lawn. The shadows push in closer. I close my eyes, waiting for the cry. And I still don't know who unlocked the door that night. I pull out my notebook, just a cheap spiral pad whose cover is scuffed from months of overnight stints, and I start writing so I don't lose the details. It's midnight when I pull into the lot of that empty 24-hour diner on Route 52. Neon sign flickers, open, but inside every booth is cold and silent. One car sits under a lone street lamp out front, its engine off, no footprints around it in the mud. I park, kill the engine, and wait. My breath puffs in the beam of the dash light. After a minute, I kill the dome light and step out. The door clicks shut behind me, and I feel the weight of the night settle in. The radio hums faintly, but no dispatch tone cuts through, just static drifts like a low wind. My boots crunch gravel as I walk toward the diner entrance, flashlight raised. Windows are dark. The glass is streaked with grime. A menu board next to the door lists pancakes, coffee, pie, but the paints have peeled, as if someone left it in a rainstorm years ago. I push the door, surprisingly unlocked, and a rush of stale air hits me. The interior smells like old grease and sour milk. Vinyl booths line either side of a narrow aisle. My light dances across the linoleum floor, picking up a scattering of broken glass and a single waitress's name tag, Marisol. No blood, no sign of struggle, just Marisol's tag lying face down. I flip it over. The name is printed in cheerful script, but the plastic backing is cracked. I stare at it a second, wondering if I should pick it up, but something in the hush makes me hesitate. The countertop is spotless except for a mug still half full of coffee, cooling on a coaster. I scoop it up and swirl the liquid. The surface reflects my face, tired eyes, stubble, and the flicker of my flashlight. I sniff. Coffee, sugar, and something else, like ammonia. I set the mug back down. There's a faint sound, scrape, scrape. My head snaps toward the back hallway, where a swinging door stands ajar. Through that gap, I can see the kitchen floor. Tiles cracked, a dented trash can tipped over. The scrape echoes again. "Police," I say softly, stepping forward. "Anyone here needs help." My voice sounds strangled in the emptiness. I sweep the beam down the hallway. There's a flicker of motion at the far end, a shape ducking out of sight. I radio it in. Possible trespasser. One occupant ducked back beyond the kitchen. No reply. The static rolls on. I bench press my frustration and move down the aisle. Boots clicking. Light sliding over scuffed walls. The kitchen door squeals on rusty hinges. I push in. Dumpster bins stand empty. Fryer vents hang loose. Then I see footprints. Wet mud tracked over the tile, leading toward a door marked "Office." I follow, hand on holster, heart thudding. I touch the door frame. The door swings inward easily, revealing a cramped office with a desk, a drawer open, papers strewn. Computer monitor sits sideways, screen cracked. On the desk, a Polaroid lies face up. A woman in a waitress uniform, smiling, arm around a man in a leather jacket. Someone scribbled on the white border, "Come back soon." My breath catches. I pick up the photo and turn it over, blank white. I slip it into my pocket and shine the light on the papers. Daily logs, orders, invoices. Everything stamped paid, closed, up until 3 days ago. Then nothing. No logs, no shifts, no record of that afternoon. There's an envelope taped under the desk with "Do not open" scrawled across it. My thumb hesitates over the tape. I peel it back. Inside, a folded piece of graph paper with a list of dates and times. No signature. My stomach churns. I shove the note in my pocket and head back through the kitchen. The scrape is louder now, coming from the walk-in cooler. I grip my taser and inch forward. The cooler door's ajar, light inside busted and dark. I flick my beam in. Steel shelves, frozen produce. Then the beam catches something at the back. A pale hand pressed against the metal wall, fingers splayed. I gulp and whisper, "Police, let me in." No answer. I kick the door gently. "Come on." There's a thump inside like someone falling. My radio crackles so briefly I think I imagined it. Then a voice, distorted, mechanical. "Don't leave." My head snaps up. The cooler light flickers on for a second and I see her. Marisol, the waitress, kneeling. Arms tied behind her back, a cloth gag in her mouth. Her uniform's torn. Her eyes are wide, a desperation so raw it pierces me. She jerks slightly when she sees the flashlight. I reach out, tug the gag loose. She inhales, gasps. "He brings the fog." Her words come in jagged breaths. He waits when she's alone. I radio for backup, my voice trembling. No static this time, clear channel. Unit 32 to dispatch. Victim found, female adult, possible kidnapping. Suspect unknown, send medical. I turn back to her, but she's slumped forward, eyes rolling back. I catch her before she falls. Hot tears roll down her cheeks. "He never stops," she whispers. "He's in the fog." She goes limp. I scoop her up, carry her out, my heart pounding so loud I think everyone in town can hear. Outside, the wind howls, carrying a low moan that might have been her voice. The diner's neon sign sputters. I lay her on the pavement and check her pulse. Weak, but alive. I pull my radio to mouth and say, "I need an ambulance. Now." Behind me, headlights cut through the fog. 2 cruisers pull up, doors fling open. Hands pull me back as medical arrives. I can't tear my eyes from that door. The diner stands quiet again, windows dark. I should have left. I should have driven away. But I'm still staring, like I expect to see him step into the light. The one who's been haunting the logs, the one who waits when she's alone. My partner pats me on the shoulder, gentle but firm. "You okay?" he asks. I swallow, nod. "Yeah?" My throat's raw. I spit out, "What time is it?" He glances at his watch, 2:43 a.m. 2 more quiet hours of shift to go. I hear a crackle in the static again. I reach for my radio. Before I press the button, I hear a whisper riding the wind. "I'm still here." The diner's neon flickers once, twice, then dies, leaving the building cloaked in darkness. I step back, pull my flashlight and shine at the door. It's closed now. No footprints outside but mine, no lights inside. The diner's just a shell, as if no one ever lived there. I turn away, carry the notebook with the pressed photo and the ripped note in my pocket. The ambulance siren wails distantly. I slide into my cruiser, hands shaking, nose pressed to the window. My partner is with the paramedics, checking Marisol's vitals through the rear window. I grip the wheel, my knuckles go white. I know we'll log this as a rescue, a closed case, but in my gut, I know the note is right. This is not the first. I start the engine. The radio spits static. I cut it off. The fog presses in against the windshield, blanketing the world. And I wonder how many more nights like this are out there. Empty diners, untold victims, logs stamped closed the moment we look away. I ease out of the lot into the darkness, eyes on the rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone standing in the fog, watching me leave. I ease onto the highway, eyes fixed on the taillights of the ambulance dwindling ahead. My windshield wipers swipe sluggishly through the fog, each pass revealing only another smear of gray. I flick off the dome light and reach for my coffee. Cold now, bitter, but it grounds me. The station's dispatcher crackles through the radio. "Unit 32, we've got a 1055 at the old Ironworks warehouse off County Line. Possible break-in, can you respond?" I glance at the clock, 3:12 a.m. My shift ends at 4, but there's no way I'm letting this go. I punch the mic. 32 en route. 10 minutes later, I drive down a gravel road that winds through scrub brush and skeletal trees. The warehouse looms ahead, a hulking silhouette of rusted steel girders and broken windows sunk into darkness. One lone security light flickers at the main entrance, casting quivering shadows like dancers on a stage. I park 50 feet back, kill the engine, and let the car roll forward to the security gate. I throw it in a park, step out, and the gravel crunch under my boots sounds alarmingly loud. I hit the flashlight button on my belt, but the beam sputters, battery low. I swap in a fresh one and slink toward the fence, heart hammering. Through a gap in the chain link, I see them. Footprints in the dust, large, work boots, leading to a side door. The lock is gone. The hasp hangs open. I tap my radio. Dispatch, 32 at the warehouse, gonna check interior. Backup ETA 2 minutes. My words hang in the static. I push the door. It groans, scraping on concrete, and swings inward. A blast of stale air rushes out, like the building exhaled after years holding its breath. I step in, and my flashlight catches the wall to my left. Graffiti scrawled in black spray paint. "He hears you." I swallow. The words stick in my throat, but I force myself forward. Inside, the warehouse is cavernous. Metal pillars thrusting up to a vaulted ceiling. Old machinery lies cold and silent, coated in dust. My footsteps echo like distant thunder. I switch on my body cam. The red recording light glows on my chest. Every click of gear feels amplified. I sweep the light over a conveyor belt, broken, rusted. Parts of the floor are stained dark. I crouch to inspect. At first, I think oil, but then I realize it's dried blood, thin and cracked at the edges. I wipe my finger across a smear, dark brown, almost black. I jerk back, flick the light upward. There's something at the far end, a shape slumped against a girder, half in shadow. I creep closer, announcing, "Police, if anyone's here, make yourself known." No answer. My radio crackles, and dispatch voice cuts in. 32, backup is code 2, ETA 30 seconds. I exhale. The shape doesn't move, so I step into the pool of light. It's a man, shirt torn and stained, arms hanging limp, head lolling. I rush forward, check a pulse, weak but present. I pat my pockets for gloves and kit, but come up empty-handed. I grant myself a moment to think. I'm alone in a giant empty building with a half-dead man. I lean in closer. His eyes flutter open, milky, unfocused. He lifts a shaking hand and points deeper into the warehouse. His voice is raw, a rasp. They hide in the sound. I frown. "Who?" I ask, kneeling beside him. The man tries to speak again, but the only thing I hear is the groan of the ceiling rafters settling. A sudden gust sweeps through an unseen opening, and every scrap of loose paper on the floor twirls like frightened birds. The man's head slumps back. He's out cold. I push him gently to the ground, then stand and sweep the beam around. I trace the footprints back. It's a loop. The boots walked the perimeter, then circled back to where he lay. But if he was left for dead, why bring him in here? Why point at the darkness? My radio crackles again. 32, back up on scene. I call back. I've got a victim. Possible assault. Send medic. Footsteps approach. 2 officers. Flashlights cutting through the gloom. They kneel beside the man as I walk closer to that darkness, curious and unsettled. I hear my partner's voice. "What do you see?" I point. He sweeps the beam but finds nothing. Dispatch reports they're sending a paramedic. I watch them lift the man onto a stretcher and wheel him out. The rattle of his respirator echoes. When they clear the door, the warehouse is empty again, save for the echo of footsteps receding. I stand alone, flashlight in one hand, radio in the other. I start to head back to the entrance when I notice the conveyor belt. Broken belts hung from rusted rollers, but one segment seems off alignment like it was moved recently. I crouch, push it aside, and find beneath it a small tape recorder. I pick it up, half buried in sawdust. The battery compartment is open, wires exposed. I know this tech. Dispatch records only police chatter, not outside recordings. I click play. At first, there's static, then faint voices. Whisper under the floor. He's coming. Listen. Then nothing. The tape cuts off. I hit stop. My stomach churns. I'm not sure if someone planted this or if it recorded something else. I slip it into an evidence bag. As I turn to leave, I hear a soft shuffle behind me. I spin. Light sweeping every aisle and machine. Nothing. My partner's voice crackles. Everything okay, 32? I press the mic. I'm good. Just gathering evidence. I make my way out, heart pounding. Outside, they ask what happened. I report the assault victim, the tape recorder, the bloodstains. They log it as we pack up. I drive away, headlights carving into the fog. Back at the station, I secure the recorder in evidence and fill out my report. The warehouse log shows no recent activity reported, no missing person calls, no security alerts. Yet, backup confirmed the man was unconscious when they found him. Who left him there? Who recorded those whispers? I glance at the time, 3:58 a.m., 2 minutes before a shift end. I step outside to my cruiser. The cold has deepened. Fog swirls like restless spirits. I buckle in and reach for the recorder from evidence. It's not in the bag. My heart stops. I check my pocket. The recorder is there, wires exposed, data intact. My pulse races. How did it get here? I didn't put it in my pocket. I lift the device to my ear, static, then faint breathing, heavy, labored. I press play, the same whispers but now closer, layered. Don't look back. Stay in the dark. He's here. My breath hitches. I shut it off, heart thumping. I throw the recorder onto the passenger seat. I grip the wheel, stare out into the fog. The warehouse lights blink in the rearview mirror, then vanish. My radio is silent, static buried beneath the hush. I start the engine. My fatigue roars in my ears louder than the motor. I realize I've been acting on partial truths all night. Snippets of sound, half-heard voices, missing logs. I thought I was solving a case. It feels more like someone is guiding me deeper into the dark. As I pull away, a final rasp threads through the fog outside my window. One more story before tomorrow. I slam on the brakes. My body jolts, but there's no one there. Only the silent road stretching behind me, swallowed by mist. I step out of the cruiser and plug in my body cam, hands still trembling. It's 4:02 a.m. The station's lights glow pale through the fog. I pause at the door, wipe my boots on the mat, and rescan the lot. No one's around. I shoulder the recorder, and the unnerving whisper still echoing in my ear, and make my way inside. The briefing room is empty except for the cold hum of the vending machine. I drop my gear at the table, headset, recorder, notebook. I press play on the recorder one more time. Static, then her voice, clipped and urgent. He's watching the hall. Don't go. It cuts out. I rewind and listen again. The tape is only a minute long but heavy with breath and panic. I reach for my notebook and scribble, 3:12 a.m. Whispers on warehouse tape. He's watching the hall. Then I recall Marisol's words 3 hours earlier. He brings the fog. My head spins. I lean back and rub my face. Shift's over, but I can't stop. I've never seen this tape in the warehouse evidence. Only in my pocket. How did it get here? I decide to retrace my steps from the warehouse. I grab my keys and slip out. My partner is gone. His cruiser isn't in the lot, only mine. I climb in, start the engine, and head back down County Line Road. The fog presses in, so thick I can't see more than 20 feet ahead. The radio's off. I arrive at the old ironworks entrance. The gate is locked now, padlock shiny new. Yet I know I left it open. I touch the chain, it's cold, taut. No footprints in the gravel. I walk around to the side door, locked. I don't recall locking it. I press my flashlight against the wood. Faint scratches line the edge, fresh. I push, it gives. Inside, everything's silent but for my breathing and heartbeat. I sweep my light across the room. No blood, no recorder on the floor. The conveyor's gone back in place. No scrape of metal. The man we rescued last night, he's nowhere in sight. The tape recorder isn't here. I step deeper. I trace the footprints again, the loop pattern, but they end at a stack of pallets. I lift my light. Behind them is a door I don't remember seeing. Narrow, metal, with no handle. Just a slot. A slot like a letterbox. A hush falls. I step close, grip my flashlight. The slot tilts open, then snaps shut. Flicker of movement beyond. I drop to one knee, press ear to steel. A murmur, distant. Can't prove it. My blood freezes. I punch the slot with my fist. The metal ring echoes. The murmur stops. I press my shoulder against the door. It doesn't budge. My flashlight beam glances down to the gravel floor, and there, scrawled in rich, dark smear, "You opened it." I swallow. My pockets, emptied when I searched Marisol, are gone. No notebook, no recorder, no tape. My badge is gone too. I unclip my radio, still clipped. I hit on, static, then whisper, "I'm still here." The static swells, then cuts out. I slam my fist on the door. "Show yourself," I shout. My voice reverberates. Nothing replies. I search my memory. What happened here? I shouldn't have come back alone. My partner, where is he? I step back. My heel clicks against something, the Polaroid from the diner office. I stoop to pick it up, covered in sawdust. The photo's face is torn away. Only the man in the leather jacket remains. He tilts his head. I flip it over, blank. I slip it in my pocket. My heart pounds. I back toward the entrance, breathing hard. I round the pallets, and he's there. My partner, gun drawn, face pale. Relief floods me. "Thank God," I whisper. I lower my flashlight. He steps forward. I reach out. He raises his hand. "Don't touch me," he says. His voice, wrong, hollow. "You're the next story." My head rears back. I stare at his eyes, black, endless. The beam slips off him and catches the slot in that hidden door. It swings open wide now, revealing a corridor lit by a single bulb. That bulb buzzes, flickers, as I stare down the hall lined with doors, each bearing a scrawled date and time. My eyes track to one, last night's timestamp at the diner, 5:22, 2:43 a.m. Another, warehouse, 5:22, 3:12 a.m., under each written closed. I step forward, drawn. My partner steps toward me as well, again raising his hand. He writes the case closed. You're his final entry. My throat seizes. I glance behind me. No exit but the door I came through. I step into the corridor. The door slams shut. The slot behind locks. My flashlight flickers out. In the pitch, I hear the echo of boots on concrete. Slow, deliberate. I fumble for my radio. It's silent. I claw for my recorder. Gone. My notebook's gone. The only thing left in my pocket is the Polaroid. I hold it up. Under the dim bulb, the man's face smiles. Then the photo falls. I catch just one word scrawled beneath. "Welcome." A door creaks open at the corridor's end. I stare, heart hollow. I take one step forward, and then it goes black. I don't know how long I stand there. Sirens wail somewhere beyond concrete walls, but they're distant, like a dream. I press my palm to the door beside me. It's ice-cold steel. I hear the whisper again, so close I feel it on my ear. Your shift never ends. I close my eyes. When I open them, the door swings inward on its own. The corridor's empty. No partner, no boots, no light. Only the pulse of my own breath. I step forward into the corridor, heart hammering so loud I can feel it in my throat. The single bulb overhead swings, casting long, dancing shadows against the walls. Each door bears its date and time. My own 5:22, 4:02 a.m. etched in hurried scrawl on the door just ahead. My breath catches as I realize I've already walked through 4 of these nights. This is night 5, the one they never log. I lift my hand and press it against the cold steel of that door. The number trembles under my fingertips. I inhale, then push. The hinges groan like something waking from a long sleep. The door swings inward to reveal a room the exact size of my patrol car interior. Walls bare concrete, a single folding chair in the center, and a desk with my notebook sitting open, the pages blank and trembling as if in an unseen breeze. I step inside, the door closing softly behind me. The bulb flickers and goes out, plunging me into darkness. My skin prickles. This is too familiar. I fumble for my flashlight, but all I grip is air. My radio is gone. I'm alone. Then, a dull glow at the desk. My notebook, illuminated by an unseen source. I cross the room, each step echoing off the cold walls, and sit, heart racing. On the desk, my notebook lies open to a fresh page. I reach out and my fingers tremble across the smooth paper. Ink bleeds through to the next page. A single sentence already written, as if by someone else in my own hand. I thought the shift would end. It never does. I stare. The letters smear before my eyes, ink swirling like blood in water. My mind races back through the nights. The diner, the warehouse, the hidden corridor, the watching partner, the fog-claimed diner, like chapters in some twisted case file that someone else has been writing all along. A sound, a soft scrape, echoes behind me. I whip around, but the chair is empty, the room silent. The door handle rattles. I stand, spine stiff. Whoever, or whatever, is outside wants in. My chest tightens and instinct screams to flee, but my legs feel like lead. Then the door clicks. It's unlocked, swinging inward on its own. A figure stands in the threshold. A silhouette in patrol uniform, hat brim low, features hidden in shadow. My breath freezes. It's me, my own shape, my own voice when I speak. "Welcome back," it says in that rasp my partner used. "Did you miss us?" My tongue fails me. The form steps in and the door slams shut behind it, folding me into darkness in that single wavering bulb. I grip the edge of the desk, knuckles white as the shape closes the distance. "Every night," it continues, voice echoing unnaturally, "you come back. You find another story, another door, another truth no one believes." It lifts an arm, the sleeve rolled up to reveal my patrol badge stamped over and over. Closed. It taps the badge with a fingernail. "You see them here in the walls, all the nights you thought were over." It gestures at the doors behind us, deeper down the corridor. They're still there, waiting. My flashlight beam flickers in my hand. Somehow it's found its way here, illuminating a row of doors behind me. Dozens of them, stretching into a vanishing point. Each bears a faded date, nights I've worked but never recorded. Each, it whispers, a confession you filed but never closed. I glance at the door I entered through. It's gone. wall now. Only those numbered doors remain. My reflection in the metal is brittle, a man fraying at the edges. The figure leans closer. "Which one is your last?" it asks. I swallow, voice rough. I don't know." My knees buckle. I sink onto the chair, head in hands. The figure crouches before me, my eyes, glowing dimly in the bulb's pale light. "Then I'll show you," it says, and reaches out, tracing a fingernail along the desk's surface. The grooves carve letters into concrete. 5:22, 4:02 a.m. shift over. Case closed. I stare at the inscription as if it's living truth. "No," I whisper, head lifting, meeting those empty eyes. "Not yet." I push up, stand, gripping the edge of the desk until my knuckles ache. The shape stands too, and together we face the corridor. I step forward, firm, and the figure matches me. With each footstep, a door falls into view, waiting. Diner, warehouse, substation, corridor, and beyond, nights yet unwritten. I raise my flashlight beam and the walls tremble. A low, rhythmic pulse resonates through the concrete, like a heartbeat. The figure steps back, melting into shadow as the light stretches down the hall. My hand shakes, but I do not turn back. The bulb flickers, half dying, and for a moment I see the figure's true face. Not mine, not human, but hollow. An empty shell where memories go to die. Before I can blink, it's gone, room empty once more. The pulse slows, then stops. Silence presses in. I advance toward the first door, marked 5:22, 2:43 a.m. My breath catches. I did not mark it, I did not log it. But here it is. I reach for the handle. A whisper shivers down my spine. "Open it. See your story." My hand closes around the cold knob. I twist, and the door opens onto the diner, exactly as it was that night. The booths, the half-full coffee mug, the name tag on the floor. But the air is thick with mist that drifts in through the doorway. The neon "open" pulses on the wall. I step inside, the door clicking shut behind me. The flashlight in my hand floods the room. I see Marisol's tag on the counter, torn in two now. The booths are empty, silent. But at the far end, in the shadows beneath the flickering sign, I glimpse a figure, a small silhouette, hunched, watching. I take a careful step forward. The figure raises its head, human enough, but the eyes are blank, vitreous. It smiles, a grin too wide, teeth too sharp. Whisper floats through the air. "Welcome home." And I realize I've been here before. My lungs burn as I inhale the fog's chill. I'd thought each night ended when the sun rose, but here, time loops in these rooms. Each door, each memory is a confession, one I can't close. I turn back to the corridor behind me, but it's gone. Walls where the hallway was. The only exit is through the diner door, but it's sealed shut. My hand presses against the glass. Outside, the world is lost in white mist. No road, no station, no dawn. The figure steps close, voice barely a breath. "Your shift never ends." It extends a hand, my hand, beckoning me back into the night. I swallow hard, heart pounding. Then I grip the doorknob. I hear the whisper, once more, clear and close. "Open the next door. Tell the next story, or stay here forever." I take a trembling breath. I lift my hand, and the light goes dead. The diner is swallowed by darkness. I pause in the darkness, my breath fogging the glass of the diner's front window. The air is so still it presses against my chest. I know this room too well. The worn vinyl booths, the linoleum floor scuffed by years of bare feet and scuffed shoes, the counter where Marisol's coffee mug once sat. Now, this place feels different. Colder, hollow, as if it has been waiting for me. I step forward. My flashlight beam trembles, illuminating a single chair pulled out from a booth. On its seat lies my notebook, its cover split, pages splayed. I stoop and pick it up. The front page is blank, though I remember filling it with frantic scrawls. I flip through to find the last entry, but the ink has bled away completely, leaving only faint shadows. A chill wind stirs behind me, though the door is sealed, and I spin. The dining area is empty, silent, but the neon open sign pulses weakly, casting an eerie glow. I set the notebook on the counter and walk around to the kitchen door. It's ajar now, revealing the greasy tiles beyond. My partner's voice echoes through the haze, though I know he's not here. You can't leave. I grip the doorknob. Behind it, a low hum vibrates through the floorboards. I push the door wider, my boots clacking on tile. The kitchen is a ruin. Overturned trash cans, crates strewn about, and on the far wall, a message scrawled in what looks like dried coffee. One more. My heart hammers. I move toward the message, tracing the dripping letters. O-N-E-M-O-R-E. With each step, the air thickens until my flashlight barely penetrates the gloom. I stumble over something. A chair leg? I flash, the light downward. It's the broken handle of the tape recorder, one half buried under spilled sugar. I kneel, brush sugar away, and find the recorder's casing. Empty. A sound behind me, a squeak, makes me whirl. The hallway beyond the kitchen stretches back toward the dining room, yet now it's lined with doorways where none were before. Each door is unmarked, identical steel and frame. The bulbs overhead flicker in sequence. I count 6. My shift, I realize, is not over. I've already walked through 5 rooms. This is the 6th story, the penultimate confession I have yet to face. I stand and face the doors. My partner's whisper lingers at my ear. Choose. My hand trembles as I reach for the first door on the left. The handle is cool, unyielding. I press my palm against the metal. A jolt of memory strikes. Of the warehouse grinder, the scraping metal, his voice rasping. They hide in the sound. I turn the handle. The door swings inward, revealing a narrow hallway lined with reflective metal panels. My laser of light bounces off them, fracturing into ghostly shards. The floor beneath is slick, like ice. I step inside. The door clangs shut behind me, echoing like a gunshot in this metallic tube. I grip the wall, sliding forward. My reflection stretches and twists in the panels, multiplying until I'm surrounded by endless versions of myself, each more hollow-eyed than the last. I swallow. The hush here is absolute, but I can hear whispers, a chorus of breathy voices circling me. They speak in fragments. Don't look. Stay here. Remember me. My flashlight flickers and I stumble forward, following the corridor as it bends. At the end, a door stands, exactly like the others. No mark, no label. My blood roars in my ears. I push the handle. It opens onto a room filled with swirling fog, so thick that I can't see the floor. I feel wetness on my ankle. I lower the beam. Rain, condensation. The fog parts to reveal Marisol, standing knee-deep in mist, uniform torn, face pale. She reaches out, mouth opening silently. Behind her, the neon open sign blinks in repetition. She points beyond. I shine the light through her arm. There, in the haze, I see the shape of a patrol car, half submerged in fog. The engine rumble is faint but unmistakable. It shifts, as if alive, creeping closer. I back away, but the fog swirls, pulling me deeper in. The chair beside her topples over with a crash that shatters the silence. I'm jolted into motion. I leap toward the door behind me, but it's gone. replaced by an endless wall of fog. Panic seizes me. I spin around. The patrol car shape is inches away, grill inches from my face, headlights off, windshield opaque. A hushed mechanical whisper emanates. Time to close the case. I stumble back into Marisol, who dissolves into mist at my touch. I'm alone again, the fog roiling. Then a single word floats through the haze. Final. My breath catches. If this is the penultimate, then the final section lies ahead. One more story, one more door. I need to turn back to find the exit, but the corridor of panels remains behind the fog. There is no retreat, only the next threshold. Somewhere in the darkness, a lock clicks. A door materializes before me, steel frame, bulb overhead, flickering in 3-beat rhythm. It stands at the center of the fog, as if waiting. I step toward it, cough as the air burns my lungs, and reach out my hand. My voice cracks. I'm here. The handle turns under my fingers smoothly. The door swings open onto pitch-black nothingness. I shine my flashlight in, but the beam disappears instantly, swallowed by void. No shape, no light, just the absence itself. It started again on a night so clear the moon left bright patches on every windshield. I was steering my cruiser down County Road 17, the dashboard's clock reading 23:47, and thinking about the cup of black coffee waiting in my thermos, one that would be cold by the time I got back. I flipped the radio to the weather channel, but only caught static for a few beats before it snapped back to a pastoral broadcast. Somewhere, someone was talking about spring storms, but all I heard was the hum of tires on the asphalt and the distant hoot of an owl. My mind was a jumble of open files. The lost drifter at Marcy's diner, the flickering lights at Jensen's strip mall, the crackling logs at the Larson farm. None of it made sense in daylight, but at night the edges of reality blurred. I passed under the diner's neon sign, its single open bulb sputtering, and saw the familiar shape of Marcy behind the counter. She waved without smiling, and I gave her a tight nod. No words needed. She'd told me the drifter had returned, shuffled in like a ghost. Said he sat in the exact same seat by the window and murmured, "They're still out there." When I'd peered over the counter, his face was gone. Just a jacket draped on the stool. I'd drawn a breath so hard my chest ached. The call, which I should have seen, coming, crackled through the speaker at 0012. Possible prowler, dispatch said, voice flat. East side of the old gas station, again. I clicked the mic. Copy. En route, I flicked on my emergency lights and turned onto the gravel approach. The station's fluorescent tubes buzzed over the pumps, their flicker like a heartbeat. One lone sedan sat idling under the canopy. No driver in sight. The door to the convenience store stood ajar, its bell silent. I killed the engine and stepped out, boots crunching gravel. The air carried the faint tang of gasoline and something else, like copper. I slid my flashlight out of the holster and wrapped the handle gently against the frame. "PD, anyone in here?" My voice sounded too loud, too steady. Nothing answered but my own echo migrating down the pipes of the pumps. I tried the door. It clicked shut. I stared a moment, chest tightening, scanning the darkness beyond the pumps. The radio spat static. My knuckles whitened on the flashlight. I radioed, "Gas station secure." No one inside. No sign of vehicle owner. Requesting status on that sedan. The dispatcher answered after a pause. Plates expired, unregistered. No hits on record. My hand drifted to the handle of my duty weapon, not out of fear, but habit. I wanted to find someone, anything. Instead, I found flicker, shadow skittering across the lot, something too tall, too thin to be a stray cat. A rough whisper crackled from the storefront speaker. I spun. No one there. My stomach knotted. I called it in, then turned my attention to the pumps again. The nozzle on pump 3 was perched at an awkward angle, as if someone had yanked it free and then dropped it in a hurry. A fresh fingerprint smudge on the metal grip caught the beam. It was long, tapered, too slender to be mine. I snapped a picture with my phone and radioed for a forensics team. By the time help arrived, dawn was bleeding in on the horizon. We swept the station inch by inch. The fingerprint matched no one in national databases. The pumps tested negative for prints besides ours. The security footage, grainy black and white, showed only me stepping into the store, then stepping back out, flashlight swinging. No figure slipping by the frame. No evidence of someone lurking behind the shelves or crouched under counters. It was like the lot was haunted by absence. I left the station at 4:03 and headed back to the main road, exhausted. My head felt thick, like I'd been underwater too long. I ran the lights past Jensen's strip mall, empty storefronts stretching into shadow. The warehouse at the far end looked dormant, except for one high window glowing a pale yellow. I slowed the cruiser, flicked on the alley lights. The window went dark. I sat for a moment, thumb brushing the steering wheel, wondering if I was chasing illusions. An animal cry echoed from the tree line. I thumbed the mic. "Dispatch, I'm pulling away." No one at Jensen's. The reply cut in quickly. "Be advised, we've got a welfare check at Quiet Lane." Caller reported voices inside a dark house. I sighed and turned on to Quiet Lane. The road was more mud than pavement. Puddles reflected pinpricks of stars. The house was the one everyone said was empty. A single-story ranch with screens torn and lawn unkempt. No lights on, no sign of life. I parked under a broken street lamp. The porch light was gone, wires dangling. My shoes squelched on the rotting wood. I knocked once, waiting. My knock echoed twice. No footsteps answered. I edged toward the door and heard faint radio static, like two channels colliding. The holster at my hip felt heavier. I tested the knob. It creaked open. Inside, the hallway stretched into near blackness. My flashlight cut a cone of light. Faded wallpaper, strewn magazines. A pair of rain boots tipped over near the stairs. An owl's distant call drifted through a cracked window. My pulse quickened. I whispered, "Pine Ridge PD. Anyone home?" No answer. At the end of the hall, a door stood ajar, light leaking beneath. I flicked my light under it and saw footprints and dust leading into the room. One set, bare, too small for a grown man. I knelt, ran my gloved finger across the impression. It felt fresh. My breath caught as the static on my radio crept louder, then cut out completely. I backed out of the house and slammed the door. The silence that followed was unbearable. I kicked at the door once, steadying myself. My radio crackled to life again. "Sarah, you still there?" I pressed the button. I'm here. The house is empty, no sign of occupant, but there are footprints." I swallowed, voice shaking more than I wanted. "Understood. We'll have someone meet you out front." I drove off before they arrived, headlights cutting the mist. I reached for the radio but found only dead air. The static had taken over. My chest tightened. I wanted to swear, to pound on the console to find something tangible to blame. But the car was silent, save the hum of the engine. I reached the station at 5:30 a.m. The forensics van was still parked by the station's side door. I killed the lights and stepped out, careful not to look back at the empty lot. My boots echoed in the concrete alley. I hung my jacket in the locker room and paused under the harsh fluorescent bulbs, the air smelling of bleach and fast food grease. My reflection in the metal lockers looked tired. eyes shadowed, jaw set. I knew sleep wouldn't come, not after nights like this, not when the dark between calls felt more alive than anything in daylight. I poured another cup of coffee, head aching, and stared out the window at the empty parking lot. I checked the clock, 5:47. In 13 minutes, I'd start the log for the next shift. I'd write down my calls, the timestamps, the fingerprints, the footprints, and leave out the parts about the flicker at the station, the light in the warehouse, the voice on the radio. Those parts had no proof. They only existed in the dark. I scooped sugar into the coffee, stirred slowly, and listened for the click of the door. But there was only silence, pregnant and waiting, like the world was holding its breath for what came next. I hovered by the counter until my coffee went cold. The station's morning shift crew trickled in at 6, bleary-eyed and blinking against the harsh lights. I handed off to Patrolman Ruiz, told him I'd been up all night and needed paperwork done before I crashed in the locker room. He gave me a look, a sympathy or skepticism I couldn't tell. I didn't want questions, so I shrugged and walked away. In the break room, I found an empty recliner under a buzzing lamp. I spread my coat over it like a blanket, slid my phone onto the table, and watched the thin line of text fade in. Footprints are female, size 7, no matches, forensics. My pulse stuttered. A lone woman roaming empty houses at 3 a.m., leaving muddy footprints. Who? A neighbor on a nighttime stroll? A ghost in trainers? I shook my head, tipping my hair off my face, trying to steady my thoughts. I nodded off for 30 minutes, no more. My radio clicked alive. "Sarah?" It was Ruiz, voice low. "You awake?" I sat up, heart pounding. "Yeah, what's up?" Quiet lane, no prints, no noise, but I got dispatch logs that jump all over again when you were there. 3:12, then 3:49, then 2:57. How does that work? His question was the echo I'd been dreading. I swiped at a yawn. That's weird. Could be a system glitch. "You think?" He sighed. "All right, I'll finish your reports. Go rest." I slid out the side door into a rush of spring air. Dawn was crawling up the hills, painting the sky pale pink. I leaned against the cruiser, watching my breath curl. I felt miles away from everything. My bed, my husband, my daughter's laughter. Up here, at the margins, the world felt fragile. I closed my eyes. The night pressed against my lids. A hollow creak, a flicker of movement. Footsteps in the attic. Close to 8, I trudged home. The house was dark, blinds still drawn, except for a rectangle of light under the bathroom door. My daughter's toothbrush was lined up next to mine. My son's sneakers sat by the coat rack, scuffed, untied. I slipped inside and paused. No laughter, no distant cartoon voices. Just the hush of early morning and my own shoes squeaking on the floor. I found my wife, Megan, in the bathroom mirror. Eyes red, shoulders drawn as she tilted my son's towel over the tub's edge. She looked at me, expression raw. "Everything okay?" she whispered, as if afraid of waking ghosts. I forced a yawn. "Long night." I reached for her hand. She nodded, eyes too heavy to question more. I washed off the grime of asphalt and stale coffee, scrubbed the city bus coffee stains from my neck. The water felt hot, so hot I almost burned myself, but I didn't feel clean. Not after nights like these. I toweled off, met Megan in the hall. I started, then caught her gaze. She was tired too. We just stood there, two shapes in the bluish glow of the hallway light. I dropped my voice. "I keep finding bits, things that don't line up." She closed her eyes as if bracing. "Go back to bed," she said quietly. "You'll feel better." I nodded and headed for our room. Before I shut the door, I made myself say it. "Something's wrong." She didn't answer. The click of the latch sounded final. I collapsed onto the mattress, still in uniform. Sirens drifted faintly in the distance, like a lullaby for the city. I lay there listening. The hum of the heater, Megan's slow breathing, and the faint buzz of the street lamp outside splitting the curtains with its yellow glow. My phone lay on the nightstand. I scrolled through the police app. No new calls logged. Nothing from Quiet Lane, nothing from the gas station, nothing from Jensen's. That evening, I briefed the evening shift at roll call. I kept it clinical. False alarms, unregistered vehicle, no witnesses. My sergeant gave me a nod that said, "Keep it that way." I told him I'd be fine, that nothing needed follow-up. But on the ride out, I caught him staring at the cruiser's roof, at the antenna, maybe at the dent from last week's hit and run, or at something in the night's memory I couldn't see. Back behind the wheel, I drove to the first call, an unconscious man at Marcy's Diner. EMTs were loading him onto a stretcher. I lifted the flap of his jacket, found a laminated key card clipped inside, Hotel Pinewood. No room number. The EMT said he came to with a whisper, "Tell her I'm sorry." They didn't know who he meant. I watched the ambulance peel away, lights chasing darkness down the street. At 23:15, a new alert. Possible suspicious activity at the creek near Larson's farm. I drove the back road, deer eyes reflecting in the beam, until I reached the rundown fence. The locked gate had fresh claw marks on its wood posts, paint scraped away. I eased the door open, mud sucking at my boots. The creek was a ribbon of black water, reeds brushing against concrete slabs. No movement, but I felt watched. I spun in a slow circle. I heard a low murmur, water rushing over stones, or voices whispering behind the trees. I clicked on the thermal camera in my flashlight and swept the tree line. Cold air meant human body, warm air leaves. Only leaves. I let the camera drop. My radio complained with static. I cursed under my breath and recorded, "All clear." My breath hung in the beam as I walked back to the truck. Something glinted on the ground, a flattened ID badge. It had no name, only an emblem. A stylized hawk's claw. I brushed the mud off and pocketed it. I took a deep breath. Proof that something was real tonight. Or at least had been. As I climbed into the cruiser, dawn's pale strip spread across the sky again. I flicked on the bonnet light to write down the badge. My hand shook so badly the pen skipped. I glanced at my reflection in the windshield. Eyes sunken, skin grayish, uniform rumpled. And behind me, just beyond the tree line, I could have sworn I saw a figure standing, tall, thin, watching. But when I looked again, there was only the creek, the reeds, and the rustle of morning wind. I drove off before I could question it. My day shift partner was pulling up for handoff. I shut off the motor, reached for the badge in my pocket, and felt every pulse in my wrist. He tapped on the cruiser window. I rolled it down. He smiled, ready to say, "Morning," but I just handed him the badge and said, "Be careful out there." He frowned. I climbed out and walked away, back toward the station, steps heavy. I wondered how long before someone else saw shadows in the lot, heard voices on the radio, or found a badge that didn't belong to anyone. And I wondered how long before Pine Ridge accepted that the night was not empty, and maybe never would be. The night shift was starting to feel like its own orbit, time stretching thin, hours bleeding together until the darkness became a living thing. At 23:58, I pulled away from the station with the badge in my coat pocket, its metal cold against my chest. I refused to log it. Nobody needed another unexplained artifact in the files. Instead, I headed toward Quiet Lane one last time. Something about that house kept pulling me back. My cruiser's headlights carved two pale beams through the trees. The moon had vanished behind clouds. The only glow came from the dash, painting my hands in icy light. I parked on the shoulder, killed the engine, and sat listening. The wind sighed through the pines. Somewhere, a radio at the station ticked, but out here, the silence was absolute. I got out and locked the door, holster clicking shut behind me. My boots sank into damp gravel as I approached the porch. The screen door hung off its hinges, swinging gently in the breeze. A single footprint was pressed into the mud beside the steps, size 7 high arch. I crouched and ran my gloved finger along the edge. Fresh. Someone had been here minutes ago. I slipped inside, flashlight low. The living room was unchanged. Dust motes in the beam, scattered magazines, the broken TV screen that still emitted a faint hum. I followed the hallway, past the torn-up carpet where those small footprints had led. At the end, the door stood half open. A thin crack of light leaked out. I pressed my shoulder to the wood and eased it wider. Beyond was the child's room. Walls painted sky blue, decals of clouds peeling near the ceiling. The carpet was clean here, no footprints. Against the far wall, a single bed with rumpled sheets. On the pillow lay a cassette tape, its label scrawled, "For Sarah," my name, in a child's messy handwriting. My breath caught. I knelt on the floor and picked it up. The tape felt sticky, like new but left out in dew. I didn't know whose handwriting it was supposed to be. No child, no one, had ever lived here. The house was abandoned. I'd checked the census, talked to neighbors. It was empty for years. I slipped the tape into my jacket pocket and followed the footprints out of the room. At the end of the hall, the footprints simply stopped. No footprints into the living room, no track back to the front door. They vanished at a random point, as if whoever made them had phased through the floor. I paused under the skylight. Rain was starting, fine droplets tapping thin glass overhead. The sound was steady, almost comforting in its regularity. I leaned back, letting the drops spatter my face. My heart pounded louder than the rain. I remembered the badge. I pulled it out and clicked it under the flashlight. The hawk's claw emblem seemed to stare back, its edges worn like a talisman. A voice whispered at my shoulder, "You found it." I spun, light skittering across the walls. No one there. I swallowed. "Show yourself," I said, voice hoarse. Nothing but the echo of my own words. I backed through the house and out to the porch. The night air had grown colder, sharp enough to steal my breath. I looked down Quiet Lane both ways. Not a soul in sight. The gravel road glistened wet, headlights from distant cars bouncing off puddles. I climbed back into the cruiser, slamming the door. The engine protested before turning over. I fished the tape out and dropped it between the seats. My hand shook. I drove back toward town, brain afog. Every shadow seemed to press against the windshield, every tree branch a waiting arm. When I reached the station, the lot was empty. No patrol cars, no lights in the windows. I thought I'd blown my shift. I'd missed handoff, run all over the county. But the clock said 008. Only 10 minutes had passed. Impossible. My badge, my footprints, the tape, all of it felt like a dream. I didn't know if I was still awake. I left the cruiser running and slipped back inside. The offices were dark. For a moment I thought I heard laughter, soft, high, like a child's giggle, trailing down the hallway. I froze, every hair on my arms rising. The laughter stopped, replaced by the steady hum of the copier in the records room. I hadn't turned it on. I edged toward the copier and switched on the overhead light. The machine sat with a single sheet of paper inside the tray. I pulled it out with shaking fingers. In a small, childlike scrawl, the paper read, Thank you, Officer Jenkins. No signature, no date, no explanation. I dropped the sheet. It fluttered to the floor like a bird's feather. My vision blurred. I pressed my palms to the copier's cold metal, trying to steady my breath. Behind me, the copier whirred and spat out another sheet. My name was printed across it. Typed, deliberate, "Don't leave." That was enough. I bolted out of the station, not stopping to lock doors or turn off lights. I ran past the cruisers, past the squad room, grabbed my coat from the locker room and bolted into the night. I drove home without stopping. At highway speeds, tires slicing grooves in wet asphalt. My thoughts roared. Who was leaving these messages? Who watched me all night, slipped into the station, played with my keys, my logs, my mind? My cell phone buzzed with missed calls from dispatch, but I ignored them. I just needed to get under a safe roof. I pulled into my driveway at 0055. My house stood dark and quiet, as if sleeping. I killed the engine, sat with hands clenched on the wheel. I replayed the night, the badge, the footprints, the tape, the copier's messages. A single note stuck in my mind. Don't leave. I looked at the house. I should walk inside, lock the door, find my family, pretend it was just another weird night. But I couldn't. I didn't want to. I climbed out and stood in the rain, hood soaking wet. My boots left muddy prints across the driveway, size 8. No, size 7. I stared at them, heart pounding, as if I'd left them there. Behind me, I heard the copier in my kitchen fridge click on. I froze. Then I realized something impossible. There is no copier in my kitchen. I turned, listening. The rain tapped the windshield. The world was silent again. My breath fogged the window glass. I flipped off my flashlight. I don't know what waits in the night outside my door. I have the badge, the tape, the messages. I have the prints in the driveway, but I have no answers. And yet I can't stop going back. Because I know someone is still out there watching, still calling my name, leaving scraps of proof that I'm not imagining this. I'm still here. Maybe that's what I was supposed to do. I put my hand on the doorknob. It turned under my palm, warm with shelter's promise. I stepped forward and paused. Behind me, the whisper came again, soft enough to brush my ear. You're home now, Officer Jenkins. I opened the door. The hallway was dark, but I knew light lay just beyond. My heart thundered as I crossed the threshold, into something real, something impossible, something I'll never explain.